Hello and happy Tuesday. It is time for another top five. And tonight we got a topic suggested by my awesome co-host Jason. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You staying what's it like over there? You staying cool?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Today was not that hot. Rain was coming in, so
That's right.
yeah.
My parents are in that part. Well, I think they're coming back today, but they've been in your part of the country, and they said, "Yeah, it's been raining like crazy. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
in the low hundreds here, so the pool has felt great." But
yeah.
yeah, so tonight we are talking about our top five favorite video game conference announcements. So this one, uh, behind top five soundtracks, this one was the one I had to do the most homework for. So it'll be fun to see what our picks are, and we'll bring in our guest host tonight. Unfortunately, we only have one, but we shall see
That
if
was
he
us.
can. It'll be awesome, and he'll make up for the larger panels that we usually have. Maybe we'll keep it under 3 hours tonight.
Yeah. We'll
and with
actually
that,
have a bite-sized episode where people will watch all of it.
and with that, we got Tyler for joining us tonight. Hello, Tyler. Thanks for coming.
Howdy, how we doing?
Doing good. So this is my first time meeting you, so good to meet you. How did this come to be? Are you two friends or?
Yeah, so I've known Jason for a number of years.
Okay.
We worked together at the good old Stop of Games, and we run in the same D&D group. So
Awesome. Okay,
and
cool.
and by proxy of his younger brother, I've known him longer than that because we went to the same high school.
All right. Well, cool. Well, being a GameStop, I'm sure you know your stuff. So awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And let's see here. We will start off. I did come up with a couple questions. I put them in our outline because I like to start off with a couple little questions before we get into our topics, if the topic allows for it. Sometimes it doesn't. But I don't even have the outline up here. Shoot, where did I put it?
Yeah.
It's on another window.
Pretty much. What's our preferred gaming platforms? We had to choose one gaming platform. Which one are we choosing?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, well, the inspiration for that was just to get a little bit of background into your gaming console family tree. So like I
Mhm.
grew up a Nintendo kid, and then the GameCube Xbox era, I switched over and I've been Xbox ever since. So that'll kind of give you a little bit of insight into my picks tonight. So just kind of wondering what your platform of choice is or was. Did it change at any time? Are you jack of all trades? So what's your background on your consoles? So we have a little bit of background on your choices for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell them how to go first.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So for me, it's a really tough toss up. Like it's changed periodically throughout my life. I definitely started a Nintendo kid. Largely still use a lot of Nintendo stuff, but was very diehard Xbox for about 10 years. And I guess now I'm kind of more of a PlayStation guy, but I'm split almost equally between that and PC. But if I had to like claim an allegiance right now, I guess I'd say PlayStation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I follow the same thing. Always been a Nintendo kid. Still love Nintendo to death. Right when the PS3 came out, that's when I kind of fell off to the 360 side. I loved my 360 because the PS3, they just made some really, really bad decisions. But when the PS4 came back out, came back to the PlayStation side of the family and did all that stuff. And then also always never wanted to admit, but I was also a Sega kid because I've always had those just in the background. I loved my Genesis. I loved my Dreamcast. But I mean, if I had to choose between Nintendo and Sega, I'd always choose Nintendo over Sega, but that's how we usually would go.
All right, cool. Sweet. And then the other one, little leading question is if you had to pick a favorite era, console generation. Not, I didn't want to say console generation specifically because you might have been a PC gamer since the beginning, and then that would be like, well, we didn't really have generations. But if you were a PC gamer, like what era of games was like your favorite? So for me, 360 era was in my opinion like the peak. So that's kind of like my favorite era. So curious about your guys, what your favorite gaming era would be.
You want to go first, Jay, this time?
Yeah, I go for this one. So let's see. 6th gen is PS2 and Dreamcast. 5th would have been Super Nintendo, if I'm not mistaken.
I have no idea which console generations was
Yeah, I'm
which,
trying to remember. I
which
think
one.
it might be the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo gen. Just because, fortunately, I had the arcades too. Again, everybody knows me. I love the arcades, and it was always fun having the games at home. Yes, but it was always fun going to put quarters up to play the better versions of them. We're granted even now, the gaming gen is fantastic because you can do all that stuff at home. And a lot of the games that we had back then, you can currently still play now. They're remaking them and everything like that. Um, but yeah, I would have to say fourth, fifth, just because of arcades with everything. And then even now has like such kind of like a black tarnish on it and everything like that to some people. But I still think what we have now is still pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times when I hear people talk about like their favorite console of all time, SNES gets mentioned a lot. So,
So I guess mine would probably be a toss up between like your PS2 Xbox original Xbox era or 360 PS3 era. Probably would lean heavy towards the Xbox 360 era because of just the way that live functioned, like broadening the horizons of everything that people did. Like, you had your Gears of War, your Halo, your Call of Duty. That's when Call of Duty really blew up. Like
Modern
that
Warfare
was
2.
that was my
The
life
first one,
to
really.
live in space. Well, I mean, I yes,
Both
like
Modern Warfares. 3 didn't do
Modern
so hot,
Warfare
but 1 and 2 were huge.
killed. But MW2, I think, is where I lived and died by for like at least 3 years, even after they started going annual with that stuff. But I think that was my live-in era of like, I'm just not going to go out and do anything. I'm just going to sit inside and play video games.
There was a lot of good stuff from that era, which is why that's my favorite era as well. So cool. And so far we got at least talking in the chat. We got Christian Frades. What's up, Christian Frades? Good to see you, buddy. How you doing tonight? He's saying that did you know the developers of Halo 1 and 2 made commentary tracks? Joseph Staten, Marty O'Donnell, and Jason Jones. I did not know that. He has all sorts of crazy deep facts that I had no idea. He's always dropping knowledge. So hope you're doing well tonight, Christian. So all right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get on into our topic. So marking down the time here. So all right. So for number 5. So as usual, we're going to start with our number 5s, work our way up to number 1. Before we get to our number 1s, we're going to take a little break and talk about our honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. And then we'll do a group rank at the end of our top 5 favorite video game conference announcements. So, and we got my good buddy Carl coming in the chat saying, look at these sexy men. What's up, Carl? Good to see you, Adam. How's it going? And he gifted me a game today as an early birthday present because my birthday is next week. So thank you again for that. And it's his favorite game that he's been gifted to a lot of people, Day of the Diver, because I know he loves that game. So I'll be giving that a shot at some point. So, and this Saturday, I'll talk about it more at the end, is my channel anniversary. And I'm going to be doing a roulette stream after party chat. And as roulette go tips and gifted games get you a spin on the wheel. So, Carl, that earns you a spin on the roulette wheel for Saturday afternoon before I'm on your show. So, all right. So, starting off with our number 5s for our top 5 favorite picks. Did anybody want to go first?
I usually did off, so why not just keep the tradition going? Yeah. So my number 5 was an announcement that never happened, but I was actually in the crowd when this announcement was supposed to happen or anything like that. But mine is...
Unfortunately, it wasn't. Don't you guys have phones? Too bad that did come to fruition.
Right. Mine
you were there, right?
I wasn't at that one.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you
said you
were at that one.
No, okay. that was who was that? That was 2 weeks ago.
It was one of the other panelists that was there?
Yes, it was the other panelist. Yeah. That was me.
If it's any consolation, I believe Jason and I were together for that at work.
It was Carl that was there for that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl. I thought it was Jason. Thanks for filling my gap in all my memory. So,
Yeah.
all right, continue.
Yeah. No, mine. I was at Evo 2019, and mine takes us back to right when the Tekken finals happened. Tekken 7 was still a bigger game, and Solid Snake showed up on the Tron talking about Tekken. There was a big rumor that Solid Snake was going to be in Tekken, and there was a big thing where he was talking about getting ready for grand finals. If you go back to 2019, he put Snake in Tekken. You can watch the video. The whole arena erupted because we thought it was going to happen, and then this was supposed to be the announcement of it, and then it never did happen. And we don't. Later down the line, they said like, "Oh no, they just wanted to mess with us," which Harada likes to mess with people and everything like that. But being in the crowd and having this go with everybody around us, it was insane.
Cool. Okay. I not being much into fighting games, I did not know about that one, but they teased everyone saying Solid Snake's coming to Tekken, and they're like, "Psych!" That's kind of dirty.
Oh yeah, it was really dirty. It was very
right. Okay, because I have one on my list that I thought you were going to steal when you said it. It was teased, and then it never actually happened. So one on my list is just like that, but I'll get to that one later. So, Tyler, do you want to give us your number 5?
Sure. So my number 5, I've got 2 here that I kind of flip flop. It's the same press conference. It's Bethesda 2015. For me, it's a toss up between Doom and Fallout. I'm gonna go Fallout 4 being announced and shown gameplay for. As a big Fallout fan, I was extremely excited for this. To me, Bethesda at the time could do no wrong. I have since then found the error of my ways in some way, shape, or form. But the fact that they showed so much like gameplay for that and then immediately dropped a release date that very same year was just baffling for a first press conference for them. I thought it was really, really convenient and awesome. And at the time I was really jazzed, but I probably watched that Fallout 4 presentation like twice a day for like the following like 3 weeks because I was just so excited for the series to come back around. And you know, history has a way of making the making a fool of you, and it gave me one of my favorite memes though is Todd Howard coming out and saying it just works. Because later on,
wait,
you know,
that was
games.
for Fallout 4. I thought that was for Fallout 76.
No, Fallout 4. So what happened was
I always thought it just works was Fallout 76. So I've had the wrong Fallout game in my mind for that this whole time.
So when they did the introduction for that game and they started the settlement crafting system is where that came from. They were talking about how everything snapped to a grid. And because of the way they designed the game system, Todd Howard says it just works. And when Fallout 76 came out and flopped because of just having, you know, the idea of no NPCs in a Fallout game killed a lot of things. And it was very buggy when it started in the first place. It Just Works became the meme that came from that.
Okay. Wow. I learned something new every day. I could have sworn that was Fallout 76, but I guess that was Fallout 4. So, okay. So curious. Because I know Fallout 4 doesn't have the greatest reputation, especially coming off the back of what many consider to be the best Fallout game ever, New Vegas. Did you end up loving Fallout 4, or were you not a big fan of it?
Oh, no, I absolutely adore the game for what it's worth.
Okay.
I realized, and that's the thing, I had a hard time jumping from 3 to New Vegas because of, like, 3 had such the right, like, it hit me in such a right time in my life where, like, I had just visited DC and
cool.
Then it came out and I'm like, okay, I've just been here. I understand where I'm at, what everything means, you know, and it's sort of the history that came along with the game. And then with New Vegas, like they changed enough systems that were like, you know, it was new and interesting to me, but I had some trouble getting into it because for the longest time, it just felt like this, like with 3, you're a little more compacted in the Capital Wasteland. With New Vegas, it is a situation where you're out in the desert, and there is a lot of nothing until you get to Vegas. At least from my perspective, it was a little bit harder. Granted, I was maybe 16 at the time I'm playing it, so like I'm not, I don't have the same gaming skills that I have now, as far as puzzle solving stuff is concerned, and trying to look at different encounters in different ways. And it was a challenge for me. And by time 4 rolled around, I'd kind of played enough shooters to kind of understand what they were going for at that time. And for me, it was just, I fall for the Bethesda charm, unfortunately. Like when a game breaks the way it does in those systems, I tend to laugh at them more than I do cry about them, because it's the charm of Bethesda for me. And I realize that that's not probably the best thing to go about as far as, some gamers are concerned, but like for me, it's part of the charm.
Okay. We got Fresh and Filter coming in, hopping in saying, "Evening, gents." And with the music, he's saying, "Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies." I'm assuming he's referring to Todd Howard.
Yeah.
So what's up, Fresh and Filter? Good to see you this evening, buddy. And I also want to shout out Dude, who is over on Rumble. I forgot to open it up at first, but I did get it up, and I do have it up, so I can see Dude now. And anybody else who might be over in the Rumble chat. And he was saying in regards to Tekken, still weird that the Final Fantasy rep in Tekken was Noctis and not Tifa. So I don't really know anything about Tekken, so I don't know who those characters are. But
I hope one day that she finds her way in there for the new game, but we'll see. We'll just have to sit and wait.
So good to see you over there on Rumble, dude. Thanks for hanging out with us. So Christian saying that, speaking of E3, Microsoft held a May preview event of Halo 2 with notable people attending the private home, including Kelly Hugh, Lindsay Lohan, Michelle Rodriguez, Tara Reid, and Shannon Elizabeth. Stuff that I would never have any idea of. I mean, see, this guy's always dropping crazy facts, and he helps preserve video game history, really. And he's done that with Fallout and Elder Scrolls on IMDb. So shout out to Christian. Good stuff, dude. So, all right. Well, cool. So for my number 5 is actually something that I brought up on last month's town hall over on the Melee Town Square, when we were talking about video game art and like not press releases, but marketing campaigns and stuff. And it was the announcement for Gears of War with the Mad World trailer. That trailer just got me, and I got super hyped for that game. I did end up playing. I don't remember. I think I got it on launch. I have since. I wouldn't say I hate the franchise. Just it's fallen off. Just not even with the recent games like 4 and 5, because I didn't even play 4 and 5. But I was super hyped for the game, but I only ended up liking Gears of War. I didn't freaking love it. But the announcement at E3 2006, I think it was. At least that's what I wrote down in my notes. That Mad World trailer was just awesome, and it was great, and it got me hyped for the game. I'd never heard that song before, and that song just stuck with me, and I love that song now. I know it was big part of the movie Donnie Darko as well, but I hated that movie, and I didn't see that for many years later. So for me, I always associate that song with Gears of War and that trailer, and it takes me back because that was just a great announcement, great trailer. And then a little bit of side tangent, David Draymond, who's the lead singer of Disturbed, has done a cover of that song, and it is phenomenal. I discovered it a couple months ago when we were doing the OST ranking stream, and I had his version of that song on loop on YouTube for like a couple of days, because this is just great. It's got like freaking billions of views. So if you haven't heard David Draymond's version of Mad World, go listen to it. It's fantastic. And yeah, the Gears of War announcement was awesome. I mean, at least for me, that was the first time I ever saw a gun with a giant, not just with a sword attached to it, with a freaking chainsaw attached to it, being able to cut people in half with your gun. I mean, that was a freaking awesome concept. So that definitely got me hyped for that game.
How'd you feel about the new announcement for we're taking us back in time kind of thing for E-Day?
That felt so weird to me. It's so. I mean, the trailer was awesome, but for me,
the trailer was great.
It was like, are we like? I thought we were at a point where like things were starting to like kind of resolve, and then we're just gonna go back and unresolve all of them. Like, if they undo some stuff, I'm gonna be confused.
Same.
Yeah, I like the E-Day trailer. I'm looking forward to playing it. I just hope one of my biggest gripes with Gears is I like because I love co-op stuff. So I've liked the campaigns playing with people. I hate Gears multiplayer, and they have put such a heavy emphasis on the multiplayer, which is why I stopped playing them. So I hope that Gears E-Day can go back to it can have a multiplayer. I just hope it's not the main focus of it. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's good. Because I know a lot of people weren't big fans. They haven't really liked the direction it's gone with 4 and 5. Like I said, I haven't played them, so I'm just going off of like anecdotal evidence. But going back to the roots, I think it has the potential to be really, a banger.
Yeah. No, I mean, we get Marcus and Dom back. Hopefully, those two bring everything back. But I'm more looking forward to the other characters. Like the Coles, and all that stuff. Like I don't know. I'm not the biggest Xbox guy when it comes to stuff. I barely turn mine on, but I'm excited to go back just to see what that's going to be like. Just because again, it's those. It feels like again when you're on the 360s, like those friends that you had in a video game. You're like, cool, I get to go back to see what these guys did instead of what we know what happened in Gears of War 3 and after kind of thing.
Let's see here. And Chris Freddy is saying that, did you know that General Rom was playable in Killer Instinct? Which I think I did know that, even though I've never played the game, along with Arbiter and Rash from Battletoads. I did not know about the Battletoads, but I knew that General Rom showed up in some other game somewhere. If you ask me what game it was, I'd be like, I know he was in a game somewhere as like a guest character. I don't know if I could have told you it was Killer Instinct. But cool. So, all right. Cool. Well, we will move on to our number 4s. So, I guess I'll start off with number 4s. So for me, the announcement itself wasn't like gigantically groundbreaking, but it came to be my favorite franchise of all time. And so I ended up being super hyped for this game. And anybody who knows me even a little bit knows what I'm talking about right here. And that was in E3 2007, probably one of the, in my opinion, the best year in video games. And God, E3 of 2007, because all those giant games came out in the later half of the year. E3 is in the summer, so a few months before. That was probably one of the biggest / best E3s of all time. But E3 2007, there were so many giant games announced. But for me, the announcement of my favorite franchise of all time, and that was Mass Effect, the original announcement for Mass Effect, because I've talked about often that I never really grew up with RPGs, because to me, until I played Oblivion, that was my first experience with an RPG that wasn't a turn-based JRPG, and I don't like turn-based games or JRPGs. This was my introduction to a different side of RPGs, which I didn't even know existed, which colloquially called Western RPGs. And I fell in love with Oblivion, and I love Skyrim. But I will 9 times out of 10, I will take sci-fi over fantasy almost every time. Really, the only exception to that is I did enjoy Elder Scrolls more than I liked Fallout, just because I like the vibrantness of the world, where Fallout, everything is dead and gray. The only Fallout game I've played is Fallout 3. I put a couple hundred hours into that, and I did really enjoy it. But if I had to pick between Elder Scrolls and Fallout, I would say Elder Scrolls. But in pretty much any other situation, if it's sci-fi, I will take it, because I'm a huge sci-fi buff. I love sci-fi. So seeing the first real-time, not really an action RPG, but it is an RPG that is action based, because a lot of times action RPG means things like Diablo. But the first, in my opinion, real time action based, fast paced, but has RPG elements shooter RPG was Mass Effect, and I was so hyped for it. And like I said, it eventually became my favorite franchise of all time. Mass Effect 1 definitely hasn't aged the best, and that's why they made the most changes to it in the Legendary Edition. So I have not played the Legendary Edition yet. I'm very much looking forward to playing, because it's been way too long since I've played through the Mass Effect games. I'm very much looking forward to it. But I fell out of all 3 Mass Effect, well, I guess 4, since you can count Andromeda, but a lot of people, as I often say, I am a defender of Andromeda. I don't think it was great, but I don't think it sucked as much as everyone said it did. So I still say that it was a decent game. But oh shoot, where's I going with that?
Just pretty much, yeah.
I out of the whole franchise, Mass Effect 1 is the one that I've beaten the most amount of times, partially due to the achievements in that one because I'm an achievement hunter and a completionist, and there's an achievement for beating most of the game with each of your 6 party members in your squad. And by most of the game, it does not mean 51%. It means like 95%. So you have to play through literally like every side quest in the game with the same 2 people in your squad the entire time. And you can get 2 of those achievements a run. So it takes at least 3 playthroughs to get all of those achievements. And I've beaten it a number of other times as well. So I still love it. I actually liked it more than Mass Effect 2 for a long time, which most people consider the best of the franchise. I have come around on that, and I do like Mass Effect 2 more than I like 1, but I still freaking love Mass Effect 1, and that announcement just was like, I could not wait to get that game. So, and Fracture's
I will say, because
Andromeda.
I will say, when Mass Effect came out, I did play it. I absolutely didn't care for it. But with how you talk,
hate driving.
Did I also, what's that?
Hate driving in that
the Mako?
The Mako in the first game on 360 specifically.
Awful. Yeah. So I mean, I just didn't care for it, but like we're like Ben now, hosting with you, like I did buy the Legendary Edition, so I am going to give it another try just because like how you talk about it and everything like that. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something to it. A lot of people love this game, and I'm the only one just didn't care for it, so I have to give it another try. So I will say I do have it, and I will give it a try.
I was talking with, I haven't seen him in chat tonight, but Paul, if you're out there, I was talking with him in his Discord today, and Carl, about Mass Effect. He's like, he said, because I said something about playing Mass Effect with Carl, and Paul's like, I really need to play that game. I was like, or I just need to play Mass Effect in general. I put a gif of Shia LaBeouf, like, what are you waiting for? Do it! So, Paul, if you're out there, play Mass Effect. It's great. So, I do got to point out what Fracture's saying. Mass Effect 1 is top tier. Gameplay is a bit clunky, yes, but very excellent music. I don't, you know what, let me pull it up here if I had it. What number was game soundtracks? Did I have it in my, no, I did not put Mass Effect in my top 5 gaming soundtracks, but I think it was in my honorable mentions. But I did re-listen to all of the Mass Effect soundtracks for the top 5 gaming soundtracks, and they are great soundtracks. So yeah, and the story is fantastic. Yes, and this is the main thing I want to point out. Mass Effect 2 absolutely has way better gameplay, but the story is almost inconsequential, and Mass Effect 3 is almost more of a sequel to Mass Effect 1 than Mass Effect 2. So I do agree with you on that part. And Christian saying 2007 we had everything. Megan Fox, Transformers, Mass Effect, Halo 3, Spider-Man 3B movie, 300, TMNT, Rise of Silver Surfer Simpson, Surf's Up, Bayformers. Yeah, lots of great stuff that year, even outside of the world of video games. So, all right. So, that was my number 4. So, Tyler, you want to go next?
Sure.
What's your number 4?
My number 4. This one I didn't have too hard of a time. It's more prevalent now as it's more recent. 2021 E3 Nintendo Metroid Dread announcement. I wouldn't call myself a fanatic of the Metroid series, but I would say I'm a pretty big fan. I've played almost all of them to completion, save for maybe the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy. The original
Game Boy one.
That's Jason's favorite.
That's Jason's favorite.
I know. I'm aware. We've had the conversation.
We did top 5 favorite gaming franchises on our last episode of Top 5, and Metroid is my number 2.
It would have been in my top 5 for sure, I think. If you would also include the Prime games in that whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely just amazing. So it was funny. I was actually, because of the fact that this is past the point where there was actual in conference, in person with audience stuff for Nintendo. This is one of those directs where there's no audience reactions. So I was watching some reactions of the Easy Allies and stuff like that. And it's funny watching some of those reactions back, because they talk about how they assumed that, because it came off the tails of Prime 4 being kind of mentioned again, and hey, we're working on it still. But here's another Metroid game. And then everyone that I saw was like, "Oh, they're remaking Fusion, and then they're like, "Nah, dude, Metroid 5," and like that's great, and I thought it was awesome because it had been what at this point 19 years since our first original 2D Metroid. Like, you could say
Yeah,
Samus
because
Returns coming
prior
out
to
because it
Dread
was
Fusion, and that
yeah,
was GBA, and I think they came out like the same week as Prime did, or
yeah,
very close
yeah.
to it. In
Mhm.
what was that, 2004?
2002.
I want to say it was 2000. Oh,
No, it's
2002.
2002.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that big of a gap
Yeah.
between Fusion and Dread.
19 years or something like that.
Jeez.
And so I was thoroughly jacked, and I was actually just replaying it, and making this list made me want to go back and replay it because of the Prime 4 announcement or trailer from the other day. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm playing through this game again. I'm just getting sucked back into it, and like, I'm like, this is one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. It is just the atmosphere is perfect, the music's perfect, just how smooth it is now in by today's standards. Like, you obviously couldn't get that back in the day. But it's just it's a phenomenal game through and through, and I was through the roof the second it came out. I remember when pre-orders went up at GameStop, I texted Jason. I was like, "Hey, make sure I get one of these. If there's extra special editions and there's not one, like, put it aside. I will be there. Do not do not screw me on this because I need this game."
Using those connections.
And this was, and this is remember the Metroid thing that we had, the long box that you saw.
Yes,
That's the one. Yeah. Those are the ones that we got. Yeah.
I have it sitting
Yeah,
over on the shelf right now.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, a lot of us have them all. Yeah.
Jason and I think it was Dude also had it, and they were showing it
Yeah,
off
Dude.
on our top 5
Yeah, Dude.
franchises last episode.
So
And I was like, oh, that's a dope box.
yeah, and just kind of jump back to that mention of everyone who's assumed it was going to be a remake of the a Fusion. I think they're going to do a similar thing that they've done with Pokemon tends to go on like a new game remake. I think now, instead of getting a Fusion remake, even though it would work time wise, I think they're going to remake Super. With the current company, I think is what their next goal. Because I went back and played Super. As much as I love the game, it does feel dated in comparison.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a great
the idea
game.
that GBA had the control structure of Super Nintendo, like even if you play Super Metroid, it feels slow.
It's still a great game. It could definitely use a little bit of a facelift. I definitely agree with you there.
And I have no basis for that theory. That's just my own running. Like, I want that to happen.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Shoot, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I saw a tweet today, or maybe it was yesterday, and it was asking which announcement were you more hyped for, the Metroid Prime 4 or Dread announcement? If I probably would have been Dread, but I didn't even have a Switch until last month, and I finally got a chance to finally play Dread for the first time last month. So for me, as much as I was excited to play it, I knew I wasn't going to be playing it for a very long time, so it was not very high on my list. So for me, the answer to that question was Prime 4 because I will be able to play it as soon as it comes out. But I finally got a chance to play Dread for the first time last month, and it was great. One of the best looking 2D Metroidvanias I've ever played. And Metroidvania, as most of you guys know, Tyler might not know since this is our first time meeting, but Metroidvania is my thing. It's like my genre of speciality. Okay. So I've been wanting to play Dread forever, and I did like it a lot. And like I said, it's one of the best looking 2D Metroidvanias ever. I wasn't a huge fan of the Emmy sections, but other than that, I thought it was an excellent game.
Yeah, I get that. It's one of those things where, like, and this is, I struggle with it too. I think of the 3 or 4 playthroughs I've done total at this point, I think I've only countered 2 Emmys ever in the entire time. It's a pain in the butt, and I, you're just not going to be able to do it every single time. And they designed it that way specifically. Like, and that's the cool thing about that game specifically is, like, most Metroid games would push you back to a, like a save point. This time it actually just puts you back to like a checkpoint that is usually like a room or 2 away.
So
it's not really awful.
I think that's what
didn't put you back too far.
Yeah, I think that's what's so cool about like the enemy sessions anyway. Like if you counter an enemy attacking you, like you felt like you did something. So like when that did happen, you're like, oh shoot, I got away with this one. Okay, I gotta get going because I don't think that's gonna happen again. And then if you do 2 in a row, then you felt like you just broke the game.
That happened on one of the later Emmys in the game. I was like literally trapped in a room and I literally couldn't get out, and I was able to counter him twice while my heart was
Mhm.
pounding and I was able to survive. And I was like, oh my God, that was
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
So it definitely
So
does give you that high when you're able to pull it off.
I got a quick tangent just because I'm also I wouldn't say I'm a large Metroidvania fan. I haven't touched Castlevania a whole lot yet. It is on my list of things to get to, and I
Mm,
know that I think
Same here.
Jason's
The
really good about
only
it.
one I played is Symphony of the Night. Well, I played Lords of Shadow, but that's not a Metroidvania.
Gotcha. So Hollow Knight, have you played that?
I have put in a good number of hours, not a decent. I put in about 10 hours into the game, and every time I play it, I'm like, I do not enjoy this, and I have to push myself to play it. I'm not a fan of Hollow Knight. I
It's
will play through it in its entirety and get 100% completion at some point. I just have zero desire to because I have not liked what I've played so far.
fair enough. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's just it is a lot harder than your typical like. It is a Souls like Metroidvania, if I want to put that in perspective.
No, it definitely is. That's not the reason why I don't like it, because there have been other Souls-like Metroidvanias that I have really liked. Like probably one of my favorite Souls-likes, because I haven't played like actual Souls-likes. I've played like an hour of Dark Souls, the original one, via Dark Souls Remastered,
Mhm.
but I haven't played any of the others. I haven't played the only actual 3D Souls-like I've played through it in its entirety is Fallen Order, and that's almost like a baby's first Souls like, because it's nowhere near as like difficult as most Souls likes.
Right.
But I have played a number of 2D Souls likes, and of the 2D Souls like Metroidvanias I've played, my favorite, just going off the top of my head, the one that pops into my head at first was Blasphemous. I really like Blasphemous.
Okay.
I have not played 2 yet, but I'm very much looking forward to playing it. But
I'm
yeah,
looking
if you like Metroidvanias, our very first episode, given that my thing is Metroidvanias, the very first episode of Top 5 was Metroidvanias. We've done a second part as well with a second group of panelists who wanted to rank their top 5 Metroidvanias as well. So if you haven't listened to those, I'd highly recommend them.
Okay.
Lots of great picks in there, especially with a lot of the guys that I'm connected with. We have our own, like a pretty active Metroidvania community on an Xbox Discord. And there's a lot of mentions in some of those of games a lot of people haven't even heard of that are really good. So I recommend going and checking those out if you haven't. But yeah, Dread, great pick. Christian saying that speaking of Metroid, I helped Jennifer Hale's IMDb bio. This guy with IMDb preserving history. Although I'm not sure I understand the connection with Jennifer Hale. Has she ever had any connection with Metroid?
Was she supposed to be Samus?
The only game that Samus ever has spoken was
Right.
Other M, right?
I think.
Did
Hang on.
she voice? I don't even. I
don't know.
vaguely remember Other M. I remember not hating it like most people did, but maybe she voiced her in that one. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Metroid Other M.
Yeah, no, she does the while not speaking roles, she does the grunting and like noises for Samus. Yep, he's
Really?
Samus in Metroid Prime, like that whole series.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That because Jennifer Hale's one of my favorite voice actresses. She's awesome. So that just it gives her another notch up because Jennifer Hale's voice, Samus' vocal effects. I did not know that. See, always dropping awesome notes. So thank you for that, Christian Frades. You just put another, just bumped Jennifer Hale up on my favorite list of voice actors even more so. And I did, Carl saying that she voiced in Other M. I did just look it up, and the person who voiced Samus in Other M was Jessica Aaron Martin, who I've never heard of before. So cool. All right. Let's see where my notes go. I'm jumping around. So, all right, Jason, what is your number 4?
All right. So my number 4, we're going way back. We're going back to E3 1995 as far back as we're going.
I wondered if you were going to put this. I really did.
So that's great. So doing some research. It's kind of most of mine are like mid 2000s and on because I never basically the way to view most of these conferences before then was like G4, which was on cable, which I didn't have until basically college. So I didn't see a lot of this stuff when it was new. So, and looking up, a lot of this stuff was before like anybody recorded it. So it was difficult to find stuff pre 2000 on YouTube for like E3 and video game announcements. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
Like this is like if anybody has never heard this story or ever seen this, there's awesome things you can watch on YouTube about it. But yeah, we go back to E3 95, which I believe is the first actual E3. I can't remember the exact when it became E3, but I know it was like the consumer like it was anyway. We're going back to 95. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, the Sega Saturn had its gigantic big coming out party saying like, hey, they had a Saturn Day, which was 4 months 4 months later down the line. They're showing like all this stuff about Sega Saturn this, all this. And then right after they get done showing it, they say at certain Toys R Us and electronic boutiques, we are launching the Sega Saturn today. So a shadow drop without really internet. We're shadow dropping the Sega Saturn today at a total of $399.
They shadow dropped a console?
They shadow dropped the console.
Holy snap. Yeah. I did not know that.
But then the next press conference, right afterwards, it was Sony's turn. Sony was they were talking about all their stuff, and then they were talking about how they're bringing the PlayStation over to America, to North America, because it's all been over in Japan right now, just not over here. I can't remember the gentleman's name that was part of Sony at the time. They just talked. Thank you. He literally comes up on stage to talk about the PlayStation. Just says $299 and walks off stage. And just
that's a pretty baller.
Yes, and then just sell this. The Saturn never recovered after that in North America because PlayStation had all this extra stuff going for it. It was $100 cheaper, and yeah, it was insane. Think of a shadow think of a shadow drop console. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I get a console possibly. I can go possibly get one today. But then your competitor goes, oh no, we're gonna make it $100 cheaper because you're silly to launch it today when there wasn't a big online presence or anything like that. So the people that they're shadow dropping into,
the internet was still dial up.
Yeah. And then the other thing too with the Sega Saturn is like they didn't promise like the Walmarts, the Best Buys, like all the other retailers. So all the retailers were ticked off that they couldn't get their hands on the shadow drop system. So when they did get their hands on it, they didn't want to sell it. They'd rather just work with Sony to get as many as they want and then sell it for that price. So it was pretty much the insanity of a shadow drop and then the death of the Sega Saturn all in one, really 4 hours almost. It felt like.
So you can find that clip on online. It's like 50 seconds. So just literally search 1995 E3 and it comes right up at the top.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
It is a sight to see. Yeah, no, it is insane.
Because I know that a lot of people have a lot of love for the Sega Saturn. I played it at a friend's house once or twice, so I have basically zero experience with it. But there have been shadow dropped games. Most notably recently was Hi-Fi Rush, and that did really well. Unfortunately, they still decided to shut that studio down. Rip Tango Games, I believe, is that studio, so that sucks. But shadow dropping an entire console, that is nuts.
Yep. Yeah, especially when they had a plan 4 months later to have it was supposed to launch on a Saturday, and they were calling that Saturday Saturn Day because Sega likes to do that kind of marketing stuff. But I mean, the Saturn was great because again, if you were an arcade kid, you loved the Sega arcade games, and all that was pretty much brought home and everything like that. But yeah, when it's $100 more and the games you can get pretty much are going to be on the PlayStation except for the exclusives. Yeah, there's really no need for it in a way.
And are you saying is that why Saturn didn't really do that great?
Correct. Yeah, Saturn didn't do well in America because of the extra price. And then Sony pretty much had everything that Saturn was going to have, except for the Virtua Fighter, the Daytona Racing, all those kind of games that were in arcades at the time. But you can get the other stuff where they had Just lost the name of it. The racing games for the PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I
Gran
mean,
Turismo?
no, the Namco racer. It's
No.
escaping me.
I don't
Total
know.
Eclipse Turbo.
No, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
no,
looking
it
at
was-
I was looking at PS1 launch titles.
yeah, it's escaping me. It was the Namco racing game that was one of the launch dates.
Oh wait,
But
Ridge Racer?
yeah, thank you, Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer. Oh, okay. I did play. I think I played the first one on N64.
Yeah, so
Or a Ridge Racer. I might be getting it mixed up with another
yeah,
game.
Ridge Racer 64. Yeah, that was later on.
All right. And Carl's saying that Saturn had the best fighting game ports.
They did. Yeah, they
And
had
he's
the
also
best.
saying-
They had the best 2D. They were the best 2D system, but when the time frame was coming to 3D, and that's why like the Saturn was looking as good, where Sony stuck with 3D and everything like that. But if you play a lot of the 2D games on the Saturn, you're gonna be like, "Holy crap, this is amazing!" But everybody wanted the new fancy 3D, all the FMVs. They wanted all that stuff, and Saturn didn't have it.
Yeah. And Carl's also saying they also moved up the launch of the Saturn and they didn't have the games ready. I believe, or was that the Dreamcast? It was one of them. So it sounds like that was the Saturn.
Mhm.
So, all right, cool. All right, well, that will bring us into our number threes. 46, 35. So, all right. Tyler, do you want to lead off our number threes?
Yeah, give me a moment here. I want to bring
Okay.
a thing up just to make sure I'm
No worries.
talk about the right things. So for me, number 3 I have, and this was kind of before my time of actually like watching things consistently on TV. I think it was 9 at the time, 9 or 10 the time that this was announced. So I was just starting to watch stuff on G4 during the summer. But 2004 E3, Nintendo announces the DS. And it's that Reggie comes out, and this is also Reggie's first, like, basically I would say that when Reggie introduced himself, hey, I'm here to change things. I'm here to make sure that we're here to make good games. And I think from then on he kind of changed the persona of Nintendo as far as at trade shows are concerned. But introducing the DS is where I think we started. Besides the N64's goofy controller, you could say it started there, but the DS I think was the first time that Nintendo was like, no, we're no longer about just good games, we're also about good gameplay experiences, and this is the new way to play games. The dual screen, like, hey, you can write on the one or use the stylus and whatever, and while it gave some funky control factors to some other games that you're used to playing with, like D-pads and whatnot, like, you look at a system that changed, besides maybe the Wii, that changed the landscaping of handheld gaming, which they were already doing with the Game Boy and stuff like that. Like, everybody had a DS. Everybody, like, all of my family did. My mom, my dad, my sister, everyone had a DS at some point. And that's when they first started screwing around with the local multiplayer stuff, through like your Mario Kart Wi-Fi game. Like, I think it just changed the way that handheld gaming kind of worked. While it may not have been the most powerful system, and that maintained itself into the 3DS, it was legitimately one of the most like monumental moments as far as games are concerned to me.
Yeah, DS is, I think, second behind PS2 for most sold platform of all time.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now, 154 million, and I think that's what was PlayStation 2.
2 million, something like that. 20 million, something like that, or whatever it was.
PS2 160. So
Okay.
that's pretty close, only separated by 6 million. So yeah, DS has, but I think DS had a bunch of different versions. There's like the DS and then the DS XL.
So there was the DS, DSi,
versions, but I think they all combine into one. That they all count towards that number, but still sold a lot, and yeah, it was very popular.
The fact that I could walk into any one of my friends' homes and there was one somewhere, like, just like the PlayStation 2 at the time, around the same time, you could walk into damn near anyone's house and see one. You can walk into anyone's house. Hey, you got a DS? Oh, sure, absolutely. Like, it was insane.
Yeah,
Like how
I had
popular it
one.
was.
I didn't have many games. I think I had more games for my GBA than I did my DS. But yeah, I had one. I just didn't have a whole lot that I played on it.
And that's what was nice about their first DS too. Is like they went back with the backwards compatibility. You're like, hey, we know you have a GBA because we sold a bunch of those too. Play your GBA games on the original DS. We don't care.
I mean, they've done that a lot because it's a lot of that. Like you've already got like not an install base necessarily, but you have create an install base by backtracking yourself with people who already you see that a lot with PS2 did the same thing with PS1 games. We did that with GameCube. Like they do that on purpose. I don't know why they stopped doing it later in time.
I did have a little bit of a gripe with it because DS could play GBA games and the GBA could play original Game Boy / Game Boy Color games. The DS could not play GBA or Game Boy / Game Boy Color games. I was like, why is this one's backwards compatible with this one? This one's backwards compatible with this one, but this one is not backwards compatible with the 2 generations ago. That did not make any sense to me, and that irked me a little bit. But yeah, my favorite handheld was the Game Boy Advance SP. I love that thing until it got freaking stolen. But yeah, I had a DS as well. Just didn't play a whole lot. But yeah, they were freaking everywhere. And one thing that, because I don't even think I got it till many years after it had, I don't know if it was past its prime, but many years after it came out, I didn't have a DS. But I know one of the cool things about it was a lot of the games took advantage of like proximity to other people, and you could like just passing someone on the street, it could do stuff, which was a cool concept. I never had that, but just that concept of, especially if you live in a crowded area, like a metropolitan area, that was a cool concept. I don't know what it could do. I just knew that it could do stuff like so.
I had I believe that was the 3DS that introduced the Spot Pass thing. I could be wrong with that, but I remember it might have been. I don't remember for sure. But I do know that there was one point where I had 2 3DSs that I owned personally with my own accounts, and I kept trying to figure out why I was spot passing with somebody at home because I didn't think anyone around me had anything because they hadn't before, and I kept spot passing with myself. I'm like, this is silly.
With yourself, interesting.
Yeah. So what happens?
I didn't know you could do that actually.
Well, if you you can't technically put the same account on both things,
right.
But like I had another DS, and this is the sad part is like I didn't have friends for a while that had they'd grown out of the handheld things, so I was using it to trade with myself when it came to Pokemon games.
And a lot of people did that. Oh yeah, it was 3DS that had Spot Pass, yeah.
It was 3DS? Oh, okay, I thought that was DS. But
same moniker.
All right.
Pretty much.
Well, cool. Well, I got confused. Like I said, I was tailing off Nintendo around that time. Probably I played a lot of N64, and I had more games for N64 than GameCube, but I probably ended up playing more like time on GameCube than on N64. I did get a Wii, but other than I think I had a small handful of games. So like I said, that's where I was kind of trailing off Nintendo, and that's when I was becoming mainly an Xbox guy. So I don't know these things about Nintendo, but yeah, cool. All right. Jason, you want to go with your number 3?
Yeah. Now we get into the easy stuff for me. Like I said, it's always fun trying to figure out the 4 and 5 because those are, to me, the hardest ones. But when you get to the top 3, I'm like, okay, I got these done. But mine, we're going to the Sony conference, part of E3 of 2016. And we are going to the Resident Evil 7 introduction to the demo. We all know I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. And when they showed that trailer, when the stage went dark and everything was going on, we didn't really know it was a Resident Evil game at the time because it was first person. They were just showing this scary game that was like that. But when it ends and it shows, 7, and then it's and it goes, Biohazard, and you're like, holy crap, this is Resident Evil, because we weren't ready for. We had 6, which if you're a Resident Evil fan, you hated. And nobody liked the game. Now we're going this crazy new direction of a first-person game that is in this backwoods. It's a little bit more scarier. Looked like it had nothing to do with the ties of what was in the past. And I remember watching that trailer so many times, be like, okay, this is a Resident Evil game. It's got to be, okay, something's got to be, there's got to be a link somewhere, and trying to figure out what the link is on anything possible. And then it's saying that there's a demo. I went to my PlayStation 4 and installed that thing as soon as I can. I mean, I remember just refreshing the shop, just like, okay, when's this demo coming? And that was the summer of what was the finger for, that nobody could find out when we got the demo and everything like that. So what was the finger for? And we were all trying to figure out, all right, this means something. What does this mean?
But no idea what you're talking about. But that's because I don't know much about Resident Evil.
Yeah, no, that summer of 2016
what was this finger thing? Was it like a tease for something, or
it was just something random. It was literally, I believe that it was opening up for another puzzle or anything like that, but it really wasn't for anything, except for just like, hey, this is a Resident Evil game. You're gonna have these puzzles, and then but yeah, that trailer, how it started, how it set up, the song that it what is it? Don't Tell Aunt Rhody. I mean, I have the special edition, so that song plays on my little collector's editions out that I in my other room. But like, that was awesome. This is the best way I can just easy way to put it. It's just a game that we had a bad game. We're doing something completely new. Hopefully, you're in for the ride. And yeah, it took us in a different direction, and it was really fun.
Okay, yeah, Resident Evil was your number one on game franchises. So I knew you loved it, but I forgot that was your number one. So
that almost made my I made my list.
Yeah,
was that specific moment.
Nice. It's a good moment. And then again, like, too, if you guys are watching anything like this, if you type in the moment that we're saying with the actual E3 whatever, it takes you right to it on YouTube. That was what the cool thing about it was, is I write these down. I'm like, oh, cool. I just type in this, and it takes you right to them, and it shows you all these awesome trailers, awesome moments, and they're definitely worth, a good 1-2 minutes if you are interested in watching some lot of fun, a lot of fun things.
Cool. All right. Well, for me, my number 3 is one that I've talked about on a number of streams, including some of our top 5s. And this was not from an E3. This was from something that I didn't even know what the conference was called until I was looking for it for the stream. And that was Space World 2000.
Okay.
Do you know what? I'm assuming if you know what Space World is, you probably know where I'm going with this.
I have my guesses, but I'm gonna let you go in case I'm wrong. I make a fool of myself.
So at this time, if you were to ask me what my favorite franchise of all time was at this time, it probably would have been Zelda. So being a huge Zelda fan, I loved Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Space World 2000, we got the first look at our next-gen GameCube Zelda game, which was Link and Ganondorf fighting in this dark castle. And looking at it now, it doesn't look very good. But back in 2000, it was freaking mind-blowing. When you're going from polygonal graphics to this truly looked next-gen. And I was so hyped for whatever this next Zelda game was going to be. It's getting to see Ganondorf with a sweet-looking sword and Link and Ganon actually fighting rather than, because you don't actually really fight him like with a sword one-on-one in Ocarina of Time, because at first he's basically hovering around and you basically play ping pong with energy, and then he turns into Ganon, and he does have giant swords, but it's not like similar in size with swords. There was no fight like that in Ocarina of Time. So seeing them having like an actual like sword duel in this next generation graphics looked awesome, and I was so hyped and so excited for this. I know I've mentioned this on our top 5 Zelda games. So, and it was like I said, it was just a tech demo because they didn't have anything, at least not publicly available, to what the next Zelda game was. Just like, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and I could not wait for that game to come out. That was probably my most anticipated game at that time, probably
Yeah.
ever. So,
And
yeah, I was super excited for that.
Didn't we get Wind Waker right after that?
Yep.
And I'm going to get into that on our number twos. But yes, we got the look at what the next Zelda game is going to be, and then we got Wind Waker, and I was completely deflated. So I have come around on. I did only play Wind Waker once on GameCube. Apparently, the Wii U version is much better because they addressed a lot of my gripes with it. For a long time, I did not like Wind Waker. I've even without having played it since, I have come back around on it, and I don't really have any, like I said, I haven't played the Wii U version, but I've heard that it does address my issues, so I would have no problem going back and playing the Wii U version again. And is that on Switch? Did they port that one to Switch, or is that one of the ones that everyone's hoping that they do?
Yeah,
not
currently. You have to have a Wii U for it, unfortunately.
Okay, if it does come to Switch, I'll probably buy it and play it again. But yeah, I was not a huge fan of Wind Waker, so it did not make my top 5. Sorry, Kay. I haven't seen her tonight, but yeah, Melee Kay, that's her favorite Zelda, and she was on her top 5 Zeldas as well, and she loves Wind Waker. But so that was probably our first argument from back when I started my channel. Was the day I had them on for the first time for like my first or second open mic, and that earlier in the day just happened to be on Twitter, and I said something about Wind Waker, and she got all up in arms about it. I'm like, all right, we're talking about this tonight on open mic. And so that was kind of where our frenemy relationship started. So shout out to you, Melee K. You're awesome.
Yep, you got the Wind Waker hate, and then I got the Smash Brothers.
Ooh, I missed this. What happened?
That was our top 5 Mario games. And
yeah, that was a pretty big one. I just said that Smash Brothers Ultimate's the better Smash Brothers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Melee
absolutely.
K's favorite is Smash Bros.
Thank you. I'm not
It's got everyone.
Melee K's favorite is Melee from GameCube. So they were arguing about that for about 20 minutes. And I clipped that segment as a video.
Yeah.
I think I saw some of it. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I just say Ultimate's the best.
So if you want to, because I don't have very many videos on my channel, it's almost all live streams. But if you go to videos, there's not very many of them. You can find that argument between Jason and Kay on Smash Bros. It was great. So, all right, that will wrap it up for our number 2s, and then that'll wrap it up on our number 3s. So that'll lead us into our number 2s. So since I alluded to it, I guess I'll start off with number 2s. I was, like I said, I was very deflated by the announcement of Wind Waker because we got this really dark, more mature-looking, grown-up, adult-looking Zelda game, which I was so hyped for. And then we get this bright, colorful, cel-shaded child Link, and I was like, what is this crap? And I was not happy about that. The only reason why I pre-ordered Wind Waker was to get the Ocarina of Time Master Quest, which has was the GameCube port, and it had the original Ocarina of Time on it, plus Master Quest, which remixed the dungeons and made them more difficult. And that was the only reason why I did. Like I said, I did play Wind Waker. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. But yeah, apparently Wii U version addressed most of my criticisms. Mainly, one of my biggest issues was how long it freaking takes to go and find all the Triforce pieces and then assemble them, and they're all crazy expensive. You got tons of money. It's like 898 rupees per map that you have to decipher from Tingle. So, yeah, a lot of that stuff I wasn't a fan of. But anyways, so the next Zelda game announcement at E3 2004 was for Twilight Princess. And that was basically the spiritual successor to that tech demo announcement that we got in 2000, and that was in my headcanon, that was my sequel to Ocarina of Time. And Twilight Princess is also my second favorite Zelda game on our Zelda ranking stream, with Ocarina of Time being number 1. And the announcement was awesome. The crowd was going wild, and as the announcement ended, you see the silhouette of someone with a Hylian shield and a Master Sword, and the lights come in. It was Shigeru Miyamoto. It was freaking awesome announcement, and I could not wait, because that was like I said, that was the Zelda I was waiting for, and I could not wait to play it, and it did not disappoint. Twilight Princess is a phenomenal game. I am looking forward to playing it again. I don't know if I mentioned it already on the stream, but I'm an achievement hunter and a completionist, and dude 1286 got me because he helped write achievements for retro achievements, and later this year, fingers crossed, GameCube support is getting added to retro achievements, so I'm very much looking forward to playing through Twilight Princess again with achievements. So I haven't played it since Wii.
Gotta find all them bugs.
Yeah, I don't even remember that, because it's been a long time since I played it, but I love Twilight Princess, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it again. I literally can't play it right now because I've never played the GameCube version, but apparently it's the exact same as the Wii version. It's just they mirrored the entire game world, because the thing at the time was Wii motion controls, and because Link is left-handed, but most people are right-handed, they flipped it. But instead of actually flipping the game, they just mirrored everything, which I didn't know until dude told me about it. So apparently, if you're playing on GameCube, he actually still holds the sword in his left hand.
The remade Wii version, because they did an HD version of which they released with Amiibo for Wolf Link, is the GameCube version.
Okay, and is that on Wii U or is that
correct.
On Switch?
It's on Wii U.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I don't think Twilight Princess is on Switch either, right?
No.
Okay. So yeah, if it comes to Switch, I would buy it again, but I'm very much looking forward to playing Twilight Princess again on Retro Achievements once it gets GameCube support, be able to play it with achievements. So yeah, love Twilight Princess. The announcement was freaking awesome. And yeah, that was my number 2 for video game announcements. So all right. Chase, you want to go next with your number 2?
Yeah. So my number 2, so this is partially still me. So we were talking what platforms I play on and all that kind of stuff. I still was, into the Xbox 360 and trying to figure out when the new console came out. Wasn't the biggest fan of PlayStation going that way. But when this announcement happened at the Microsoft E3 experience of 2013, I knew exactly what system I was buying, even if it was just for one game. And it ended up being my KI box for the longest time.
I thought you were going the other way.
No, for when Killer Instinct was announced that
was an Xbox One exclusive.
It was, yeah. It was the smallest of smallest things, but they said everything I wanted to. They had the announcer and all that stuff. I was like, it's happening, because I never thought KI would ever see a light of day again. My Xbox One literally was my KI box for the longest period of time, and then it became my KI box / Rock Band box, which it is till this day, kind of thing. But when I finally saw that they were bringing it back, I was like, all right, here we go. I'm back. Let's play. And
okay. I thought you were going to go the other way because of how disastrous the Xbox One announcement was.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say it made me go to PlayStation, and it was awesome.
That's where I was expecting to. Between price point,
yeah,
games.
Here's how you share games.
Whole thing.
And
they got destroyed.
Right, and that's the funny part. Like, that's all that stuff, and I agree. All that stuff was terrible. I looked all past it because of one Microsoft arcade game, pretty much, because there was no budget in that game, as everybody knows. And I'm like, all that stuff I forgot about. Like, what you said, Killer Instinct's coming back. Sure. I'll be there day one. I
take my money.
I did not know that you were that big of a Killer Instinct fan.
I am.
You didn't even. Well, it may be on your honorable mentions. Since I don't write those down, but you didn't. It didn't make your top 5 on game franchises. So
it was close. Like, the one, it was so close because of like, Killer Instinct to me is just one of those really, really fun. Like, I think of going back to the arcades, I can hear the killer combos, the ultra combos, because in the arcade they made those loud so you would navigate to that arcade machine. But to me, that symbolizes that time. I had Mario Party at number 5 because that symbolizes getting all your friends together, and you come in as friends, and then by turn 10, you have no friends. And it just reminds me of like going back every weekend, hanging out. Like, if you went to the arcade first and we went back and played this, like, that was always it. And granted, there was more games on for Mario Party, but I mean, I every time Microsoft does something, I'm like, Microsoft, do you want me back? Just bring back this little arcade game. You
Revive
have
Killer
this
Instinct.
again,
Is
like I
that-
said, you have this game that's just sitting there. You don't have a fighting game underneath your name. You just bring this game back. You bring all these developers that you can easily get. Granted, I know you can't hire them right now, probably, but if you just bring this game back, you'll bring me back too. But you don't.
So since, as you know, I'm not a fighting game person, so I wouldn't be any person to have on this panel. But I very much looking forward to seeing a top 5 fighting games with you
Mhm.
and a bunch of other people who are big on fighting games. So I definitely want to tune into that one.
Yep.
So.
I think I'm going to be on a podcast. I think I'm going to be an RNG podcast. I think, or someone's podcast.
Yeah, we're both on RNG on Friday.
No, I think I'm on another one. Hold on, make sure. I'm on one on July 14th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the RNG show on July 14th as well, and it's going to be about fighting games.
Nice.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. Yeah, which is going to be cool because that's 3 to 4 days before Evo. So good timing.
And that Evo is strictly a fighting game thing, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Shout out to Carl. Always doing good stuff over there on RNG Gaming. All right. Tyler, what is your number 2?
So my number 2 is going to take us right back to E3 2016. For a little known return of a franchise called God of War. When that was announced, and we see a little like a kid, and you're like, what's happening? And then the reveal of old man Kratos, and you're like, oh, this is great. What are they going to do with this franchise and this character? He's got a kid now. Like, what is happening? Because we're so used to old, angry, hate the gods Kratos, and then this is supposed to be some sort of subdued, father figure. You're like, can this be done well? And flash forward 2 years to 2018 when it comes out, and you're like, okay, yeah, yeah, it could be done really well.
Yeah,
it
I've
was just
not played.
Yeah, I'm
not-
a big God of War fan. Sorry, big God of War fan, and seeing that come out and like just the evolution of the character in such a way, that like kind of hits certain tones on a familial level for me at least, was very heartthrobby.
Nice. Yeah, I have not played any of the God of War games, given that I'd never owned a PlayStation and they were PlayStation exclusives. I always wanted to, though, because I love hack and slash games. So I'm hoping at some point I'll get the ability to play the old ones. I know a lot of them are on, or some of the old like PS1 or like I said, I don't know the franchise, so I don't know what platforms they were
PS2.
on. But I think that they're on Retro Achievement, so I could definitely play some of the older ones through that. I'll do that at some point.
And for me on the God of War stuff too, like I didn't care for the first the ones that were on the PS2, just because of the whole like Tyler was saying, like I hated the character of Kratos being like, I'm just this really angry, I'm gonna scream at everybody kind of guy. But when I saw the one where they remade it for the PS4, and I was like, oh, this character actually feels like he's got a little more depth.
to him.
And I was like, when I played it, this is just how I looked at it. Like I know I'm wrong. But when I played the one that was on the PS4, I was like, okay, it was insane. It was absolutely insane on what they did to that game.
I think for me, they hit at the right time. It was one of those things where like I was an angsty teenager at the time that those games were popular. At least like PS2 era ones had just, the PS3 was just coming out, and like I'd finally hit my stride of like, okay, I really enjoy these because I like the hack and slash nature of it and the blood and gore and all that stuff. And as an older adult now coming into my own, realizing that this is what storytelling's supposed to be.
I don't think I've ever asked you, like, how would you on the PS2 era, like between God of War, like, did you care for the Devil May Cry games?
You know what's funny? I've only ever played DMC 2 and part of 5, which granted I know 5 came out way later. I'm sure I would love them, honestly. I've never gotten around to playing them.
Yeah, see, and that's where I think I think I was at, because I love the Devil May Cry games, and they didn't have like this angry character and just screaming at everything. So I think that's where I fell. Like, I'd rather play Devil May Cry again than God of War, which makes no sense in a way. But I think that's where I fell in line on that part.
It's funny that you were mentioning, with God of War bringing up the Devil May Cries, because that was originally a developmental spin-off of the Resident Evil franchise.
Yeah, it was, until it was so way off track that they had to rename it to something else, because it was
this is not Resident Evil anymore. We need to give it its own name.
Yeah. No, they were gonna add demons and all this crap to Resident Evil, and they're like, no, we're not. But then we got 4, so.
But yeah, I do have God of War 2018 since it has released on Steam, so I'll be playing that at some point. Very much looking forward to playing that.
You can most definitely play the new ones without touching the old ones. Just kind of the games will give you a brief history of it, like through the dialogue and stuff like that. But like largely, you could start fresh and not even worry about playing the old ones. It's not your cup of tea.
Okay, no, I very much want to play the old ones because, like I said, I love hack and slash games. So I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to try to go back through the old ones first or not. I know I don't really need to, since it is a reboot of the franchise, essentially. I just haven't decided which order I'm going to play them in first.
They are relatively shorter. I think 1 and 2 you could probably jaunt through in 12 to 16 hours at the most.
Okay.
Whereas obviously the newer ones end up being around 30 hours typically. So like you're looking at half the time. If that, I want to say I cruised through. This is a few years ago. I cruised through the first one in under 10.
Okay.
So, do that with what you will.
Yeah. If that's the case, as long as I can get access to all the older ones. I guess mainly being 1, 2, and 3, because I know there was a couple spin-offs. I don't know if I'll play any of those, but I'll probably at least do 1, 2, and 3, assuming I can get access to them somehow. Because like I said, I don't know exactly what platforms they were all on. But dude is saying over on Rumble, he got the platinum trophies for all of the God of Wars other than Ascension and 3 Remastered. Need to go through them on Retro Achievements one of these days. He loved the reboot, God of War 2018. He thought Ragnarok was okay. And he was late to work when beating God of War 3 because he was beating the whole thing within the first 24 hours of it releasing. Good stuff, dude. He's also an achievement hunter and a completionist, and we do an achievement podcast once a month as well. So if you like achievements and you want to hear us talk about them, check out our achievement chasers, typically the first Friday of every month. So, and then over here on the YouTube side, we got a bunch of stuff from Christian Frady saying the only God of Wars I liked were the Greek ones on PS2, 3, PSP, and PS4. And they had quite the all-star voice cast, including Kevin Sorbo as Hercules, Rip Torn, Malcolm McDowell, Clancy Brown, Jennifer Hale, Steve Blum. I know all of those names. I don't know Harry Hamlin and Michael Clark Duncan. I know that one. So out of all those names, those are all big-name people. So that's awesome. The only one I don't know is Harry Hamlin. So I did not know there were that many big-name people in God of War. That is awesome. And he's saying that Devil May Cry wasn't the only game that spun off from a prototype of Resident Evil 4. Haunting Grounds also counts. I've never even heard of that one. But thank you for always enlightening us with these awesome tidbit factoids. So always good for some great information. So keep it up, Christian. You are awesome with that stuff. So, okay. Does that wrap up number 2s?
That's number 2s.
Okay. As I say, according to my notes, it looks like we've got all our number 2s. So before we get into our number 1s, we will go into our honorable mentions. What didn't quite make the list? So Jason, you want to go first on this one?
I got 5 of them because for this I had only 8, but then 2 of them are recent ones, so I'll leave those for last. But one of mine was the Nintendo 2004 with Twilight Princess. That trailer for that is awesome. Like when you see the pan close-up shot with Link and then the sword, and then next to it's over with, and then you see Miyamoto come out. Like that's what you want in a video game press conference. You want to see what the game is, you want to see all this stuff, and then you want all the pop and circumstance afterwards. Be like, hey, we brought it back to you, and this is what it is. It's what you wanted to see. Here it is. Hopefully you enjoy it, kind of thing.
When I watched that again, preparing for the stream, I mean, that was 20 years ago now, but just watching it again, it still gave me chills.
Yeah. When I speak about my number one, I still get the feels on my number one. So I'll leave that for a little bit though. But my another honorable mention that I had, the game was absolutely dog crap, but it was E3 2010, and it was Twisted Metal. I mean, I wanted another Twisted Metal so bad, and when they showed it, and then next you know it, you see the ice cream truck come on stage after and everything like that. So I'm like, sweet, we got another one after Twisted Metal Black, but the game was awful. So
which
that
Twisted Metal game was that? That was not good.
The one that was on the PS3. It was just Twisted. I think it was just called Twisted Metal.
Oh, they did that thing where they just reused the same name as an older game. I hate that.
Yeah. And it really didn't have any like characters. Like it was almost like a gang war kind of thing. So like you can be like you were the car names instead of like each character name kind of thing. And I don't know. It didn't do very well. Another one
had
of
a great
mine.
announcement.
It had a great announcement. Fantastic announcement. Another one, Microsoft E3 2017, when they showed Dragon Ball Z Fighter for the first time. That was, I mean, that's everything that you wanted to see. Like, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're like, oh, cool, I wanted a fighting game. Like, the art style to this, like, its Arc System Works, and it looked too good to be true. And then the last two actually came from Summer Game Fest this year. No, the first one was actually at the Summer Game Fest show 2024, and that was the announcement of Terry Bogard and Mai going to be the first ever guest characters in a Street Fighter game. They are obviously characters from the SNK side, from King of Fighters and all that stuff, but they're actually going to be characters in the game, and how they announced them into the game was awesome. And again, as a fighting game person, never thinking that, you know, Street Fighter would always bring in characters, and if they needed to do something, they'll do a different game. But now we actually have characters coming into the world that is Street Fighter, is awesome. And then the last one, this one was very, very close to my number 5. I think number 5 stayed on there because I was at the event when it happened, but it was the Nintendo Direct of 2024. And that is the announcement of the Marvel vs. Capcom is back with the collection. That's another one of those games that I never thought was ever going to be remade, just because of the licensings and all that stuff. I mean, that is one of those 1 in a million chances. A great video you can watch, and he's great with fighting games if you are into those too, is if you watch Maximilian's reaction to when that happens. I mean, I'm not as crazy overboard there, but I mean, I had those same feelings because it was one of those things that we never thought could happen again. We thought that game was done, that franchise was over. The only time that game would ever come back is if us fans wanted to create something for, you know, Marvel 3 or for anything else. But we thought that franchise was dead after Infinite because of how bad it was and who took over and, you know, everything that the game meant. But now that it's finally back, we don't know if it means there's a new one coming out. Obviously, we're excited to play the collection again, and I mean, it's just a collection of the older games. So I mean, it was one of those, like, my eyes just like, your heart doesn't stop. You're like, wait a second, and like you skip a beat for a second, like, is this thing actually true? And then it happens. You're like, you don't know what to do. Yeah, you try to find something to grab on, and you're like, no, this isn't true. And then it is. You're like, okay. And then I can't wait. I can't wait to play the older games. And again, it's an older collection. I mean, I can right now go on, you know, Fightcade, and I can play all these older games, but to have them actually take the time and be like, hey, no, for the fans, we're gonna make this collection for you guys to see what it does is awesome.
Yeah, hopefully it does a better job of a classic remaster than the recent Battlefront collection.
Yes. Yes.
Hopefully it doesn't get that treatment. But one thing that Christian mentioned a little while ago, that since you're talking about fighting games, is since we like George Lucas Star Wars, did you know that Starkiller, Vader, and Yoda were all playable in Soul Calibur 4? Yes, I didn't. Like I said, I'm not a fighting game person. I did know that they were all in a Soul Calibur game, but if you ask me which one, I would have no idea which one it was.
Yep.
But yes,
the sad story about Soul Calibur and guest characters is that when Link was in Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube, um, and Spawn was in the Xbox. PlayStation was supposed to have Cloud, but the deal fell through. So
Is
they
that
had
why they got?
Heihachi.
Hey, yeah, I was like, I know they got somebody from Tekken.
Yeah, because it was just easier to grab Heihachi because it was made by the same people, so I didn't really have to get anything. So that's why Heihachi made the yep. But yeah, there was a chance that Cloud would have been in Soul Calibur 2.
Nice. And Paul's here. What's up, Paul? Saying yo. I already forgot, but I did shout you out earlier for something. But what's up, Paul? Good to see you tonight, buddy. And I want to mention a couple things that Dude said over on Rumble. Because when you're talking about Twisted Metal, he said, how did we not get a Twisted Metal Battle Royale game during the Battle Royale fad? It was a perfect fit for it. Great question.
And the show came out too during that time. It would have been perfect.
And he's saying that he wants to start trophy hunting because he's done mostly Xbox and retro achievements. So if he starts trophy hunting, the God of War games are a great place to start because they're not terribly difficult completions. So the MVC announcement took Jason for a ride. Took you for a ride.
Hell yeah, it did.
I got that. I understood that reference.
There we go.
Soul Calibur 3 was supposed to get Dante, but it fell through as well. Interesting. So, and Paul's saying, I agree. Twisted Metal Royale would be sick. Yeah. Like I said, never had a PlayStation, so I never played any Twisted Metal, but I know that was a popular franchise. So, all right. I think I'll go ahead and do my honorable mentions. I did only have 2 written down, but as you were just talking, I thought of something. I was like, oh yeah, I should probably add that. And I didn't think about it because it was so recent and there's not a whole, the announcements we had just a few weeks ago, there were some pretty good ones in there, but overall the last few years of games have not been at their peak. So I didn't really even consider anything recent. I was thinking more, during the Xbox 360 era and around that time when video game conferences were like at their peak. But I did want to throw the Prime 4 announcement on there because Metroid being my second favorite franchise of all time. And Prime 1 was my number 2 on my top 5 Metroidvanias, I believe, without looking it up. So I've been waiting very patiently for more news on Metroid Prime 4 other than just a logo that we got 7 years ago. So now we finally got some actual video gameplay of the game. I was very excited about that, and I will, as I often say, I'm very frugal. I wait for things to be out for like a year so I can get them like 50% off with all the DLC included. I'm very frugal. I will pick up Prime 4 on day 1. So I didn't even think about that until you were just talking, Jason. But it's like, yeah, I got to add that on there because that was exciting. A couple others during the 360 era that I was just talking about. It was funny because it was quite memorable because there was a couple of flubs. But the announcement of Rock Band, because I loved the Guitar Hero games, when they announced Rock Band at the 360 E3, I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was also 2007. I don't remember, but it was great with
I think so.
Peter Moore was playing Rock Band with a band, and he kept hitting the Xbox 360 guide button and pausing the game. That was funny, but I was super excited for that because I loved the Guitar Hero games at that point, and I was like, now I can play drums and sing as well. And I ended up singing a whole lot, but I did have to do singing because in Rock Band 3, in order to do World Tour, you had to have 2 instruments. I didn't have anybody who was good to play with, so I had to sing and play guitar at the same time. But I ended up, drums are my thing. I love the drums. I was thinking about it today. I was like, I should pull out my drums again and play some more because I haven't pulled out my drums since I had BDJCon open mic for the first time a couple months ago. But that was a great announcement. I freaking loved the Rock Band franchise. And then my other honorable mention, I really wanted, because I had my number 1 was an easy one, and then I had to squeeze 6 choices into my top 4, and I really wanted to put this one into my top 5, given that it's a game that I really love. It wasn't a fantastic game, but I loved it, and it's my game that has more hours played than any other game. And the announcement wasn't like mind blowing, but I was so stoked for it, and I could not wait to play it. And it was the first thing Bungie did after Halo, and that was Destiny. I put more hours into Destiny 1 than any other game, and I loved that game. It wasn't mind blowingly phenomenal, but I loved that game. And the announcement of seeing like drop in, drop out co op, a not an not an MMO, but a semi MMO. I forget what the shared world shooter is what the term it basically the genre it invented. So you can be running around with random other people, not like an MMO where you got hundreds of other people, because each instance was I think up to like 8, maybe 16 other people. So you see people running around. That was really cool, and the gameplay in the game was phenomenal. The gunplay in the game was phenomenal. I was so stoked for that, and I think that was the game I followed the development of closer than any other game. I watched like every YouTuber's video. I remember, I think he's still a Destiny YouTuber, and his name is Datto, Datto.
Yes.
Uh,
I'm a
I
big
followed every video he put out from the moment Destiny was announced. I could not wait for that game, and I love that announcement. So, what were you going to say about Datto?
I am a big Destiny player still to this day.
Okay.
I've been consistently playing every expansion. I felt you fall off here and there as far as like the content humming and waning and whatnot. But we just got to the end of the 10-year like run that they had with the most recent expansion. And yes, Datto is still making videos. He was actually a few years back, 2017, I think, at this point. Wow, that's way more than a few. When Forsaken came out for D2, his raid team was like second or third. I'm probably wrong about this, but to completing the raid, and it went like 24 hours. And the same thing started to happen. Started to happen with the most recent raid, where he was in that top 2, top 5, top 10, and then just like hit a wall and fell to like 100 and something, like as far as finishers are concerned. Like it was crazy what the raid race was like. But like the we just got to the end of a 10-year expansion, and like they're still making the game, and they still do a lot of those developer update stuff. You can still follow their updates pretty consistently. And it is a hard game to now at this point, 10 years in, try to get somebody new to play, because you're missing out on that.
The one thing that is one of the most criminal offenses in live service games is Destiny 2 has removed content so that you can no longer play stuff that was in the game when it launched. Yeah. That is a video game cardinal sin, and that's one of the reasons why I've never played Destiny 2.
I do think they'll add it back here in the next couple of years. I think at one point, and largely I think it'll come down to whether or not they maintain the Destiny 2 moniker, or if they drop it entirely and just call it Destiny overall again, or if they do a quote unquote D3, which has where I think they'll either start fresh and make it so that you don't have to play everything else. And I know that's hard to do from a narrative standpoint, but I think they've hit a point now where they could do that with the big boss of the last 10 years being non-existent. And I think now it's more intentional to drop in and be like, hey, you're a guardian, this is the world state we're in right now, go do stuff. Whether or not they maintain that, like largely what it comes down to is it's hard narratively to follow with missing all of that content to play through. But it's also hard to tell people, even from a perspective of they've stopped cutting content out, like to the point where like there are I think 4 expansions that you could play now before the final shape that are still in the game. It is really hard to convince somebody to go back and play 5 expansions worth of content to get up to date with the new one. Like it's just difficult to do in general because of the fact that there's just so much behind it. Like it's not
I understand that.
I
would say
situation.
If I'm going to start, like I said, I've never played Destiny 2. If I was to play it, I want to start from the beginning and play through everything up to the current stuff. I know that's not everyone. Yeah. That would be a huge time sink. I totally get that. And I know that's not for everyone, but that's what I would want to do. Yeah. So maybe they could pull off something like World of Warcraft Classic. Maybe they could do like a Destiny 2 Classic sort of thing.
I would be down with it for that, because I mean, and they've done some of that too, because they've brought some raids from D1 into D2 and made it what it is. And I would absolutely love, because there's still content that's in D1 that you can't, like I can't play on my PC. I have to boot my Xbox up to play it. And like there are a handful of raids that my friends and I will jump back into and play with by and large a worse product because of the quality of life improvements they have to the overall gunplay and gameplay of the game. So it's one of those things that I wish they would backtrack and kind of get some of that stuff in it, but it's really hard to say like, hey, you need to allocate all of this manpower that you're currently making the next thing on to go back and make it so that I can play the stuff that I already purchased again. Like, I get it on both sides.
Yeah. So, because Destiny 2 is cross-platform, right? I could be on Xbox,
Correct.
play with a PC person and a PlayStation person. Obviously, Destiny 1 is not the case. You could transfer your save from, because it originally launched on 360 and PS3. You could transfer your save from 360 up to Xbox One and PS3 up to PS4, but you couldn't cross-platform save or cross-platform game with each other.
Correct.
So yeah, if you go back to Destiny 1, you got to play on whatever your platform is and only people on that platform.
And that wasn't even introduced until, I want to say, the expansion Shadowkeep, I think, was the first one where you got the cross. No, sorry, it was either Shadowkeep or Beyond Light.
That's right. It wasn't originally they had to add that in. That's right.
Yeah,
and obviously Destiny 1 wasn't even on PC. They didn't have a PC version until Destiny 2. So I know that's how a lot of people prefer to play.
And then it jumped from BattleNet to Steam, and I think now it might be on Epic Game Store. So,
like I said, I've never played Destiny 2. I could potentially be convinced to play it. If what you're saying is true, like they do add that old stuff back, I would definitely be more inclined to do it. I have such a gigantic backlog. I don't know when I ever would get around to it, but I might be able to be convinced. But
the only reason I play it is because I got in early enough with the beta and stuck with it the entire time that I'm now in. I don't blame anybody for ever being that way.
I was that way with Destiny 1. I got in the beta and I was like, I love this. And I could not wait to play it. And like I said, it's my single game with the most hours in it. And that was on 360/Xbox One. What platform did you play Destiny 1 on?
Xbox One. I started.
Okay.
I was a launch Xbox One purchaser, I guess, because Xbox was my thing. That's where my ecosystem was. It just made the most sense to me at the time. It was before I had a PS3, before I even had a PS4. When I played through the old God of War games back on that, I had to play it on a buddy's Xbox or a PlayStation. So like, it wasn't a thing that I had until I got a job and started working for myself and making my own money that I could spend on those extra systems. So when I got Destiny, it was on Xbox One because that was the system that was purchased for me at the time.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that because I still have one achievement left in the original Destiny to get the completion, and that is for completing the Wrath of the Machine raid on Heroic. So I need to get a crew together to do that at some point. So I'll have to hit you up for that.
If you need people, hit me up. I've got people.
And I know I could probably get Dude in for that because I'm pretty sure he has it on Xbox as well. But yeah, we'll have to get a Destiny crew together to play some Destiny at some point. That'd just be fun just to do for the heck of it. But speaking of Dude over on Rumble, he said he upgraded to Warframe. He plays Warframe on every platform and keeps all his characters up to date. He freaking loves Warframe. And on the other side here on YouTube, Paul Hadouken's also saying that I'd rather play Warframe. But Paul, if you have Destiny 1 on Xbox, we got to get a raid group together to do that last raid because that'd be fun. And I'd love to get that marked off my list as finally having the completion in that. He said, Dude is saying he got carried through that raid. Don't ask me for that one.
It's actually funny enough. Wrath of the Machine is one of my favorite raids of all of Destiny history, and they still haven't put it in D2 yet. It bums me out because they should have done it like 2 years by now. But that is literally one of my favorite raids, both aesthetically and lore wise.
Nice. Yeah, I played it once and got the achievement for beating it on normal. I just need to go through it and do it on heroic to get the final achievement, and then I'll have it another one on my completion list. So, Dude is saying I've now linked my accounts on Warframe, so it's only one account. Oh, okay, gotcha. So, all right. Well, that was our unexpected tangent on Destiny. I just made a new Destiny best friend because I want to do that. And I don't boot it up very often, but I do just love every once in a while booting up Destiny and just running around a patrol zone, just shooting stuff just for the heck of it. Because I do love Destiny. So I think that leaves us with Tyler and his honorable mentions.
Yeah. Okay, so I find it funny that we've all mentioned E3 2004 in some way, shape, or form. I got a kick out of the fact that both one of your tops was Twilight Princess, because I do have that in my thing as one of my honorable mentions. It was funny to me because I went back and watched that press conference yesterday, and they showed the gameplay from Twilight Princess, and it's clearly got the Wii thing going on, because at the time they were announcing it as a launch title for the Wii U, for the Revolution at the time,
Oh,
what would
that's
become the
right.
Wii, because it was it was one of those things that launched on both the GameCube and the Wii at the same time. So I that was in one of my lists. If we were doing a top 10, it would be definitely there. And I brought it up during my mention of the DS, but Reggie's first time showing up was in sort of changing the face of Nintendo publicly, makes my honorable mention list just because of that moment alone. And everybody loves Reggie, you know.
My body is ready.
So that was that. I have E3 2016 once again. This time not for God of War, but for Marvel Spider-Man, and RE7. Like I'm a big RE fan too.
Okay.
But that not nearly as much as Jason. I am a giant Spider-Man fan, and that game was perfect. Everything about that game, that the way it was previewed, everything they showed me, I was in on the ground floor, and I continue to be. I think
We're
the sequel
talking
was
PlayStation
yes,
4
PlayStation.
Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
It's
curious on how you like the sequel.
the sequel left me lacking a little bit. They set up a lot of a lot of things that have yet to pay off narratively. I thought the story was fine. It was a little bit shorter than the first one, but I feel like there was less in the first one. You spend a lot of time dealing with what it was essentially the Sinister Six. I don't think they ever called themselves that, but it was the Sinister Six, and you spend a lot of time going from spot to spot in the back half of that game, dealing with them, and then dealing with the main villain. Which again, narratively, I loved how they set that up with Doc Ock. Spoilers for a game that came out 6 years ago.
That's another
everyone,
one that I do look forward to playing since
yeah,
it is on Steam.
everyone knows Spider-Man villains, so like it's really hard to be like, oh, this is Dr. Otto Octavius. He's going to be the bad guy, probably.
Yep. And then everybody knows Spider-Man stories, and still the same beat in a Spider-Man story still makes me cry in that game when they do the at the end. It makes me cry every freaking time.
Yeah,
no matter what it is.
And that's the thing about a good Spider-Man story, and that's what this one does really well. Is like a good Spider-Man story has Peter Parker's life and Spider-Man's life hurling together at such a force that there's no way of avoiding either one. And I feel like the sequel didn't do nearly as well in that regard because it kind of shoehorned in some of his personal stuff a little earlier. There wasn't some mystery to it or what was trying to figure out. It was just kind of like, hey, here's the problem. We kind of, as an audience, having the history with the symbiote in that game, know what's going to happen eventually. It was kind of curtailed a little bit. So I was left lacking, but there's enough set up that I'm surprised we haven't gotten a DLC announcement for it. I'm expecting it eventually. But at this rate, who knows? Insomniac's a mystery to me because at one point you're like, we love Ratchet and Clank, but we're not going to give you one for several years. And then we'll give you a new one. And then we'll give you another new one that actually makes the one that we just released before that non-existent because it follows the other games. And then this comes out and you're like, all right, whatever. So like, who knows? I have no idea when that's going to come out, what that's going to do. But I look forward to it anyway. I'll buy it anyway. It's Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Lastly, of the ones that I have, and this one's just kind of a one that I thought was just kind of poignant. E3 2006, Sony announces the price point of the PS3 at what was it, $499 or was it $399? Yeah, it was $499.
It was $499.
Which immediately put Xbox in the lead for the rest of the console generation at the get-go.
I thought it was like something crazy, like $699.
No, one of the models was. I think one of the models.
The one that we know today is the backwards compatible one, the big box backwards compatible one. That one was a little bit more, but like if you wanted a PS3, it was minimum $500.
Yeah, and it also had to do with hard drive size. I think an 80 gig was the $500 one, and then 160 gig was like $600 to $700
Yeah, that's nuts.
just to buy. And that was with no games. There was no tie-in games at the time, unless they had like a PlayStation like I thing or something. I don't remember. I was too young at the time, but I remember when they announced that, and then Xbox came in with a bunch of launch titles, being like, "Hey, this is what our 360 is going to cost." And then, obviously they had the Red Ring of Death thing occur a few years later, but that didn't stop where that console generation was already headed. And with the way that Halo carried on, the way that Gears carried on, it helped the system live. And Live obviously blew up, like I was saying earlier, with that being my favorite era of gaming. Like, playing games online absolutely just was 10 times better on Xbox because of the way the party systems worked, the way Live was set up to be a social experience. You could see achievements, you could get into parties really easily, you could track.
Don't forget about the blades.
That was good organization just in general. But now you look at the Xbox, it's a little rough, in my opinion.
I did a video. I clipped a part out of an open mic stream back in like August or September. Wow, it's almost a year ago now. After the latest dashboard update, I think it's one of the few videos I have on my channel, and it's titled like the new Xbox dashboard is mostly terrible. And yeah, it's
funny to me that they had an okay system going on with the blades, and then by time the
everybody
Xbox
loves the
360
blades
ended, it was this weird boxy thing that is different than like it was. They got so close to the Xbox One before getting there, and I remember being like, "This is gross." But one more thing I do want to bring up about Live, at least how it felt to me as a consumer at the time, or at least just a person who was playing a lot. I had a buddy who had a PS3 who constantly complained about his games being hacked or screwed with because because it was a free infrastructure for PlayStation. There was no real problems. Like, I don't know, account getting banned was really a thing before PlayStation Plus came around and stuff like that. So he'd be playing like Resistance online, if anyone knows Resistance, another Insomniac title right
the
there.
Halo killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was playing Resistance online, and he's like, "I can't. Like, this is a terrible experience. I'm being hacked every time. It's stupid, whatever." And then you go over to Live, which had a lot of that built-in infrastructure, you should pay for it, and was a little more secure. You still had people who had network switches and stuff like that back there that you could screw with and kind of screw with everything with host-wise. But it really cut back on the problems that occurred, I think, in my opinion. I think that helped again set Xbox up to be where it was, for them to inevitably fumble the Xbox One, which is hilarious to me that how that swap has occurred both times.
Yeah, and by the time 360 launched, broadband internet was much more ubiquitous. So, because I didn't have Xbox Live on the original Xbox, I didn't have Xbox Live until 360, and so now, since broadband was much more, prevalent at that time, it definitely helped it have, launch Xbox Live into another level than it was on the original Xbox.
Right. Yeah. I do have one more. That
before you give your one more though, Tyler, I do find it funny though, like that situation that you just talked about the Xbox and the PlayStation with price points. It kind of goes back to like my number 4 with the Saturn and the original PlayStation. How Saturn came out with this big price point, whatever, and then PlayStation comes back like, we're going to do this, but then again, they didn't learn from what they did, and you go way down the line, they do the same thing that Saturn did to, now PlayStation's to Sega Saturn, and they just shoot themselves in the foot before you even have a chance to get something growing. So it's hilarious how things going. Yeah, it's hilarious how sometimes there are things that like you should learn from the past, and they didn't. But yeah, absolutely.
You could look at it from the perspective of the fact that they were riding high from the success of the PS2. And they thought their brand, because of how good the PS1 did in that situation with the Saturn and how consistent it was, like they weren't fighting with Nintendo because Nintendo was already in the homes. They were building their own market. And then you look at what happens with the PlayStation 2, where it explodes because it's a DVD player and you have an excuse to have it just to be in the house.
Yep.
And then like, well, we're riding high, we can't do no wrong. And then what happens? They did that. They set it too high. They expected people to be like, I believe in Sony, I believe in the PlayStation moniker, I'm going to buy this system. And I
Got
would
ahead
argue
of
that
themselves.
that's the same thing that happened with Xbox, where they thought Xbox could be the all-in system for the home. Okay, we'll have it, and that was the big thing. And you go back and you watch that press
All
conference
about
where that
TV and movies and
TV,
media. It's like, what about the games?
and they're like, okay, this is bad. And that's exactly what occurred. Is I think because Xbox at the time was high on their horse from the 360 era, thought they could do no wrong. They
Yep.
were right in the idea that streaming was going to take over the living room. I just think they were 5 to 6 years too early on the decision to try and go all in on it.
Yes, I think that's spot on. And yeah, along those lines, Dude is saying that the PS3 was still the cheapest quality Blu-ray player at launch. The 360 eventually was in last place at the end of console generation. Because the PS3 eventually outsold the 360, but I think most people still consider the 360 to have kind of dominated that generation. But then he's saying the Wii killed both. I don't know if I can say killed, but I do know it sold a lot.
To jump off that point real fast with the Blu-ray thing, the reason why that was that way, especially with the reference to the Xbox, is because Sony actually owns the Blu-ray branding.
Oh, that's right.
So when that was occurring, you had, if you remember right, in stores, you'd have Blu-ray copy of it and an HD DVD.
I was hoping it would win just because that's what Xbox was supporting. I knew it wasn't going to, but I was hoping.
Yeah. So when you get to there was a stage, I want to say it was around 2016, 2017, maybe even a little later, where they finally allowed Xbox to get a Blu-ray app. So you could actually watch Blu-rays on the thing because it was the censors could read it. It just didn't have an application for it. So you had to download an app, and every time you popped it on your Xbox, it would take you. It would the Blu-ray logo would pop up, and then the movie would start.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't realize it wasn't on there by default because I only have 2 Blu-rays, and I didn't even have them for many years after I had an Xbox One. So, but what was I just gonna say?
But those are my wait, actually I did one more.
Yeah, one more.
Jason tangent is again.
Sorry.
E3 2015. I have another pin for this one, but Horizon Zero Dawn was announced. I loved the aesthetic of that game. Everything about it was screamed me. I'm like, that ancient civilization stuff. Like, we're now so far in the future that like we're fighting robot dinosaurs as tribesmen. Like, it was cool. So cool.
Dope. Another one that I have not played yet because I don't have a PlayStation, but I think I'm pretty sure I own it on Steam.
Yeah, you should be able to play it on Steam now.
I'm pretty sure I have it on Steam.
I think they're throwing the sequel on there at some point soon.
Too. It's coming soon.
We get Lego Horizon soon. I'm super excited for that.
Okay. Yes, I do have Horizon Zero Dawn on Steam, so I'm looking forward to playing that at some point.
Yeah. So that is a game that I absolutely no, Forbidden West is actually, I think it's out already.
Oh, did it come to Steam already?
Let me double check. I've got it pulled up here.
I know it was coming soon, but I heard that one was not as good as the first one. But I do look forward to playing them both at some point.
Yeah, he's actually on sale right now.
20%
off.
Nice.
For the complete edition, so that comes with the DLC. It's very good.
Sweet.
Both very good games. It wasn't. I would agree. Yes, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it's kind of hard to like. They set such a high bar, and it's one of those things. It's got the Spider-Man problem where it's kind of hard to hit it narratively, and I think they're doing a good job as far as carrying the narrative on. But you know, it is what it is. I thought the aesthetic was great. I thought the gameplay is great. You know, I for some reason any protagonist with a bow, I'm all in for because bow play in games is great for some reason for me. I say that, but yet I've never really played Crysis, so don't hold me to that.
I was going to ask you if you played the rebooted Lara Croft franchise.
Yes, I love Tomb Raider. I absolutely love Tomb Raider.
Nice.
I have played all 3 of them. I didn't actually finish the last one, but I own it. I've purchased it 3 times now. Like, that's how much I like the franchise.
Nice. Yeah, I've got those rebooted games. I just have not played them yet either. They're on my backlog. But
So.
cool. And the thing I was going to say a minute ago when we were talking about Blu-ray and HD DVD is I remember for Christmas one year, one of my family members got me a movie. I don't remember what movie it was, but they got it for me in HD DVD because I didn't realize, they were normie. They just thought it was like a DVD. I'm like, I appreciate the sentiment, but this is an HD DVD and I have no means of playing it. So I'm going to have to take this back. All right. Well, that will lead us into our number ones at 54, 38. Let's say 40. So, all right. So we'll finish off with our number ones. Is anybody jumping to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go first. Just because Tyler was talking about his honorable mentions with PlayStation 2015, we're gonna go back there.
I knew it.
I knew mine's
it.
Not.
I knew it.
Mine's not about Spider-Man. If I want to, again, I kind of spoiled it a little bit too. If I want to feel any feels, or if I want anything, I go back to this at least. It's sad to say, maybe 3 or 4 times a year to watch this announcement. But mine is the Final Fantasy VII remake announcement trailer.
Okay.
I honestly, talking about it right now, don't know how to give it justice. Obviously, it's when it comes to my favorite game of all time. I always say like Resident Evil 2 is my favorite TV show. Final Fantasy 7 is my favorite movie because they're both my favorite. I can't choose between the two. So, but Final Fantasy is more
video games.
Yeah, but like how like somebody says like, "What's your favorite movie of all time?" Like you have an answer, but I have 2 favorite video games. Right, but I have 2 favorite video games. I can't choose between the 2. But if you ask me what's my favorite movie, I'll have an answer. If you ask me what my favorite TV show, I'll have an answer. So that's how I describe the 2. So like,
this is my favorite movie, my favorite TV show. I'm like, those are video games.
Yeah. And the way I say it that way is because Final Fantasy VII is a longer, more drawn out story, where Resident Evil 2 is more shorter, compact. So like I said, that's the shorter compact is like a TV show in my opinion.
Okay.
And where 7 is a longer ranged kind of thing. Like that's how I kind of explain the 2, because I can't choose between those 2 games because they're both my favorite. So I have to figure out a way to describe those 2 as my favorite of all time. But when he first walks out and we're all waiting, you just see the background and it's just like this wavy line and you're just sitting there looking at it, not thinking about it. And you're like, huh, that's interesting. And then he starts talking. You're like, wait, is that the live stream? And then he keeps talking. And then they go into it. And then it's cuts to them on the train, him jumping off the train. And then before even that, like they're just showing the world and everything like that. I mean, it's one of those things like you have, if you're a fan of the franchise or you're a fan of the game, you have to just watch just to get it, because it's the characters in the world that makes the game, and they're just showing you everything. And they're not telling you when the game's coming out, because by all means, we know the game didn't come out for another 5 more years. But what they were showing is like kind of like with the Twilight Princess, the 2000s when you were talking about, you're like, oh my God, this looks fantastic. And they're just talking about this world and why is this world calling to us? And then I showed Tyler not too long ago because in Rebirth, there was a big stretch tinfoil hat that I had. And one of the characters in Rebirth voice is pretty much the same voice that was in this 2015. And if you're playing the new section,
it is exactly that. It's the same voice actor who did the voice.
And there's just like this weird thing how like if you're playing the new games, how they're changing the world, but like they're launching everything back to when it started in 2015. But I don't know. It's like if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII just in general, and you have not seen the 2015 showing of this, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it gets you in all the right feels. It gets you in like you could take like, it's phenomenal. I wish I had better words to say for it, but I can't describe it except for it is my favorite announcement I've ever witnessed, seen, anything like that. It's going to take a lot to ever top that feeling I had when I first saw it, and B, when I keep going back to it, I'm like, man, this is how I should feel when I enjoy something and is coming out that I want to play or I want to consume as you know, as anything. It's great.
All right. Nice. Yeah. As you know, I'm not big on Final Fantasy, but that is awesome that you love it so much.
So can I just I might as well go next just because
I was gonna say you go ahead next because I'll finish this off, but just real quick before we do, dude, it said something funny here, saying Horizon 1 released at the same time as Breath of the Wild. Horizon 2 releases at the same time as Elden Ring. What game is Horizon 3 gonna release alongside that will be internet breaking?
Yeah, that's very true. It was very. I had to go back and play it again. It was very hard to do both because again, those were two games that I also played, and it was like I could fit one in at some point. So which one is it going to be? But
yeah, go ahead.
Here's because all right, I'll sound like a cop out, but I'm also a very large Final Fantasy VII fan, and Jason probably assumed that this same thing was going to be my top one as well.
That's why I wanted to go first to steal it from you.
Surprised. No, 2015 remake announcement is my top so far of my life. We'll see if the next game, like Rebirth, came close again, but with that, but a lot of what Jason's saying is a relevant because when that announcement occurred, it was funny because he mentions like the green strings going along the screen, and to me, when I first watched that, I remember thinking back, I'm like, are they doing something with the PS3 again, or like we going back to that because it looks like the PS3 startup screen? I'm like, okay, weird. And then the chanting starts to come in, and then they start doing flashes, like he said, the flashes of the city, and they start talking. Like the guy starts like. It feels very generic at first when you're. It's funny that Jason brings up this whole theory he's got because they talk about the promise of a return is what the trailer says, and it feels like a generic like call out to the fans because they promised to remake this game because it's so beloved. But then yes, there are some weird potential tie-ins to the next game that has come out because of just some a similar voice actor and some stuff being said. But like. Yes, the tone and emotion that came through in that trailer in that room, because it was still when we were doing live, audience things, and I think the audience reaction to that trailer was just as much part of the moment as it was to be there just as a viewer on the other side of a screen. I would have loved to experience that in room, because that is crazy, and I remember my heart dropping seeing that come up the first time, and like Jason does, I go back and watch that. I watched that trailer a handful of times, probably a year, since it's come out. And I think it's a game that holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts because of the emotional journey that it takes you on, and the connection it makes you feel with the characters, even in the PS1 like text-based reading, the original, that like there's so much going on that you're like so many twists and turns and so much characterization that occurs in those moments, and watching that unfold even as the game has come out now, it is 100% one of the most emotional games I've ever played in my entire life, and I already know the story for it, so it's even more connecting. And I will gush about Final Fantasy VII until the day I lose my breath. So it's hard for me not to compare. And unfortunately, yes, Jason did beat me with a punch, but he said all of the same things that I would have said, and probably then some. It's less of just a game; it is more of an experience.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that you since after Jason, I'm like, okay, good. Means he didn't take my top number one. So maybe Tyler will, but you went with the same one, so I was safe. So all right. So for my number one, and this was I think also one of the things I brought up on Melee Town Square last month, and number one announcement. It was one of those ones that like blew the doors off the arena for me. Not that I was there because I've never been to one of these conferences. I always wanted to go to E3 back in the day. Rest in peace since E3 doesn't even exist anymore. But this was one of the biggest announcements. E3 2006, the Xbox showcase. Master Chief's arrival for Halo 3. We're not sure what it is. It's, we just see some like dust coming across the screen and then the piano keys kick in. Just thinking about it right now is literally giving me chills. And then you hear Cortana's voice. You're like, oh my God, it's Halo. And you see Master Chief coming walking through the dust. And then he's on the cliffside overlooking this, giant open space and all these Covenant cruisers coming over and the music kicks in, as the wall of, there's like, the thing in the ground opens up and there's like a shockwave of dust and hits him. That's when the music kicks in. Oh my God, gets me in the feels. Halo 3 is my favorite of the Halo franchise. That announcement was just like killer. One of the greatest announcements, in my opinion, my favorite announcement ever. It was the Halo 3 announcement. And the whole marketing campaign for Halo 3 was phenomenal. There were so many different advertisements. There was the one that came out later where it's the kids like in the grass, and then it cuts to on the ground and you see the helmet in front of you. You're looking through Master Chief's eyes and he puts the helmet on. You see this, he picks up the shield grenade, which they turned into equipment, but and then the giant blast comes and hits him, but he's okay, and then he starts running and then he jumps and get into the brutes. And oh my God, one of the greatest marketing campaigns ever. But yeah, that original announcement at E3 was freaking killer. So that was my number one. And I hope that there are some Halo fans out there that are as moved by that announcement as I was. I'm sure there was, because I know hearing the people in the crowd when that came on, like everyone was like hooting and hollering and screaming and stuff. And that was a highlight of 360 gaming era. So.
But did he have a poncho?
Oh, the Halo 5 announcement.
Yes, that was a letdown.
Or wait, no, was that 5 or was that 4?
I think it's 4.
It was 5 because the poncho was Halo 5 Guardians. Because it was I'm almost positive it was the Halo 5 announcement where he was wearing the poncho, which it's like he's wearing this high-tech suit of armor. What does he need a poncho for? To protect him from the sand?
Because it looks
into
cool.
Space. I think ponchos are dumb. Speaking of Fallen Order earlier, that was one of the collectibles with all the different ponchos. I always went to the one where you're not wearing one because I thought the ponchos were stupid. I want to actually see my character, so I never wore the poncho.
I think, the piano thing is what gets me. And then I also, just because this has been one of our shorter episodes, Neil, I don't know if you're cool with it, but I think the people that are watching, I think they should definitely experience all of our number ones. So if you're cool with it, I have them all pulled up. So if we want to, we can just share them if we want to.
I like it.
So we can just share the number ones.
Okay. Yeah. Due to saying that Halo 5 had the poncho, that was still when Halo could get some buzz. So yeah, I love it. Let's go ahead and show the Halo and the Final Fantasy 7.
All right. Hopefully this works because I've been having issues with the audio on this stuff. We look good?
All right. Yeah. Let's see.
So yeah, this is Halo 3.
Yep. Audio. Full screen it.
Yep.
Your future,
every time.
This is the way the world ends.
Man, I really need to play through Halo again.
Oh, good.
Right. I want to go take on the world right now.
I want to play Halo 3 right now. And we've been trying to start Halo 3 with Paul and Dude and I think Bliss, or maybe it's DJ, but schedules have not aligned yet. But it's likely that we're going to finally start Halo 3, not this Sunday, but 2 Sundays from there, which I think is like the 14th or something. But yeah, such a good.
Yeah, no, I'm just watching that. Like, you were right, the piano was just so good. And then I forgot that it went into the actual. I forget what the name of the song is, but for the Halo, but the main theme, I forgot it cut into that. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to I'm ready to go.
So good. The only thing I wish, I mean, there's other ones that have it, but the one that you showed didn't have the crowd reaction. I love that one too.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, for some reason I didn't have that one.
Yeah, so
Right,
it's no big deal.
And
That's such a
then
great announcement.
yeah, and then I forgot they were talking about World of Final Fantasy before this announcement. But yeah,
Many years ago, Square Enix released a groundbreaking title that went on to become one of the most beloved games in PlayStation and video game history. Tonight, I am proud to announce that by popular demand, we have a very special treat for everyone.
Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts. In its wake came an age of silence. Yet with each fond remembrance, we knew those encountered were not forgotten. That someday we would see them again. Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking. But after the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy, it may bring fear, but let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.
yep.
A little bit of excitement. We're proud to announce that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming first to PlayStation 4.
First? Where else does it come?
It eventually goes to PC.
Mhm.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you can
Oh,
buy
I did
that
not
right
know
now
that.
on PC.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I think the last game might not get released on the PC. They don't know if the exclusivity thing's happening anymore.
Yeah, I heard about that too. It's weird.
Because the most recent one, the Rebirth, is the second of the remake trilogy, and it's already out of exclusivity, so it might launch on Steam here in the next 6 to 8 months.
Man, dude on Rumble saying he was hyped for Final Fantasy VII Remake, but he's still yet to play it.
It's every bit of worth it as it looks.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, turn-based JRPGs were not my thing, so I've never played Final Fantasy. But given that this one went more the real-time combat, I'm definitely open to giving it a shot. So maybe at some point I will give it a try.
It has both, so you'll play hack and slash E, and then you can actually do special attacks and stuff. It throws you into a menu and slows time down so you can do it. So it's like it's both, but once you actually get flowing into combat, it becomes second nature. It's a fantastic game.
Sweet. Cool. Well, Jason, I'm glad that you did that and we got to watch those because I was not planning on it. So
I may or may not have that 7-1 just like saved in my YouTube folder at all times, ready to go. So I might have just had to just look up the Halo one. So yeah, that's what kind of just like, oh, I can just easily pull these up.
All right. Well, I guess that makes our number 1 for the group rank pretty simple.
Yeah. But I mean, I am going to do something different because of our honorable mentions. So I guess we can go into our group rating right now for what we have. So we have a tie for number 4 with the God of War announcement and the KI announcement. I am going to bump up to number 3 because, like I said, we all pretty much had it somewhere on there. But Twilight Princess is our number 3 because, again, we all mentioned that one. And yet someone didn't make our top 5. It did make your number 2, but we all pretty much had it. So that's easily beats the ones that had the, each of us having the 1. And then obviously Halo 3 would be number 2. And then that last trailer that we just watched for Final Fantasy VII Remake, that makes the group's number 1 for now. But again, this is definitely a subject like the music and like the other ones that I would absolutely love to revisit again with other people because I'm getting excited with announcements and everything like that. I love to see what people are excited for, and B, stuff like this to me, what people are joyful and happy about is always fun to watch too, especially when a lot of these announcement trailers I've seen as well, and some of them I might forget about, but there's so many other great ones that we didn't say that easily could be on this list.
All right. Yeah, as usual, if anyone wants to, if you ever have any ideas for topics for top 5, let us know. We can make that happen at some point. If you want to be on one, let us know. If you want to revisit a topic we've already done, let us know. This show is all about having people on and, hearing what you guys have to say. So, but yeah, with that, I guess we will go ahead and wrap it up with our short episode of 2 hours.
Our 2-hour episode,
considering most of them are like 3.5 plus. But Tyler, you got anything you want to plug?
Not presently. I will say that I am on most socials, including Twitch, as Team TGN, as you see in the parentheses there. I used to stream off and on way back when, but I haven't in the last few years. I have been considering jumping back into it. We'll see if doing stuff like this sort of gives me that itch once again, but at present I am not. So, but
it's great having you on. Yeah, it was great having you on. Thanks for joining us. It was great. So, and yeah, we'll definitely have to connect at some point for some Destiny.
You got to just hit me up, babe.
So, all right. I would say, well, I mean, Jason, you might have stuff on your own channel that you might want to plug. I don't know, because we have not planned anything for top 5 for July yet. So
no, not yet. We're still figuring out what we're doing for July. So again, if you are a guest that would like to be on anything in July, let us know. If you just want to be a guest, so we can tell you what the subject will be. You could do that too. If you have something that you want to be on and we haven't figured out what we're doing for July yet, do that as well. Yeah, exactly. Go back and watch the last episode of Shovelware, where a certain panelist on this right here might be our current champion.
That was you that won. I was listening to it while I was doing something else, so I wasn't really looking at the actual players, so I didn't realize that Tyler was the winner of Shovelware. That was fun.
Yep. So we have a current panelist is our current champion. So in July, he will be defending his belt. If you want to be a contestant on Shovelware, please let me know as well. Love to get, again, a lot of shows that we do, we love to get people on just because it's fun for us to talk, but it's more fun to hear what you guys have to say because, again, it's boring for me just to hear myself speak about the same fighting games and same games over and over again that you guys are probably already tired of as well. But yeah, I will be on episode of RNG with Nerdy Neo on Friday. I think it is. I just got a message on that one. Super Jank Fighter is still on its way. I am just working on some things with that. And I think that is it from my end.
Okay. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Shovelware is great. Go watch the first 2 episodes. It's Jason put together a Jeopardy-like video game show, and it is great. So they're pretty short. So go give them a watch. They're about 45 minutes. And yeah, if you want to be on, I was on the first one. It was a lot of fun. I would be happy to be on again. If Jason's open to having me, it was a lot of fun. But yeah. As we said, we don't have anything figured out for top 5 for July. So if you want to, put a bug in our ear for a topic, we're definitely open to it. As for stuff that I've got going on here on my channel, I will be having an open mic on Thursday. I'm planning on going solo, and depending on, I've got a few things to talk about regarding like future of the channel and stuff. So come hang out and chat with me, and I may play some games. Who knows? We'll see. And then, yeah, as Jason mentioned, on Friday evening, we're going to be on Carl's channel for RNG podcast at least on my schedule. It's 5 o'clock Pacific. So I hope that's correct. If not, Carl, let me know. And that's going to be a fun one because Angry Canadian is going to be on as well. And then Saturday is my channel anniversary. So that'll be my 1 year since my first thing I did on my channel, which, I mean, technically the first thing was a walkthrough for a game, but that doesn't really count. The first thing I consider to be the first thing on my channel was my stream with DJ Access and Gino95, where we were just talking about Mega Man for about 2 hours. So the anniversary is on Saturday. Well, we will be having the next episode of Party Chat at the usual 11:30 a.m. PST. And the guest for this episode of Party Chat is going to be Horny Alf. And then basically right after that's over, I'm going to be doing a fun anniversary roulette gaming stream where I'm going to be letting the wheel pick what I play. You guys are free to come hang out with me. If you want to be on the stream, I'll send you the link and you can come hang out. We can chat and have a good time. Any tips that I get will be spin the wheel. It doesn't even have to be on that stream. So like I said earlier, Carl gifted me a game, so that earns him a spin on the wheel. So that's going to be a lot of fun just to hang out. And then I'll be on RNG again on Saturday evening at 5 o'clock. So if I've still got more spins after we're done with that, we'll do some more gaming. But yeah, come check Carl RNG Gaming Podcast out on Saturday night at 5 o'clock as well. We're going to be talking all things. I think we're talking original Xbox, or maybe it's 360. I don't remember. But we're talking all things Xbox, and it's going to be great. So yeah, I had a blast as always doing a top 5 with you guys. So yeah, thanks for everyone who came and hung out in the chat. Great to always see you guys. And yeah, one thing I want to shout out is, as my channel anniversary is right around the corner here, I am at 188 subs. So I'm 12 away from 200. It'd be awesome to hit 200 by the time we get to the anniversary. So that'd be cool. And my birthday is next week. So I'm going to be doing a birthday stream on Thursday, which is the 4th of July, which is my birthday. So
there it is.
I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing at that yet, but I will be doing a Thursday morning stream for a couple hours before I go do fun stuff for my birthday and with family and stuff. But yeah, come hang out with me. That'll probably be some sort of hangout stream as well. Oh, and the other thing is I've got video game codes to give away on both the anniversary and the birthday stream. So come hang out and you might win a game. So, but yeah, thanks for hanging out with us again tonight, everyone. Good to see you guys as always. Thank you for joining us, Tyler. It was great getting to meet you. And
I enjoyed myself.
Excellent.
I would love to be back, especially if you're doing another one of those soundtrack nights.
Soundtracks is definitely a hot topic, so we're definitely going to be doing a soundtracks part 2 at some point. So we'll definitely, before I forget, let me put you on the list, because I've got a list of people who want to be on each certain topics for a part 2. So, but yeah, Jason, great co-host as always. Team in. So that'll wrap it up for tonight, everyone. We'll see y'all later. In the meantime, game on.
Timecodes.